It was everywhere, all around, man.
Yes.
So,
Yes, it does.
hi, gang. Welcome to a special edition of Metalheads Unite. We do have a guest on, and we did back
Yep.
up the time a little bit because I am trying to leave for vacation in the morning, and I wanted
Yeah,
to
he's
back.
you wanted to get ready early so we get the
I
fuck out
did.
of here early.
Well,
So
I didn't want to drag. I didn't want to be dragging ass trying to drive. So,
no, that's 100% true. So
so
where is it that you're going again?
we're staying in. It's like right on the border of Maryland and West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So
All
it's
right.
kind of like we're going to do stuff in both states, I think. But
That's
it's like
cool.
right on the border there. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
so
so this is a normal day, but a special time
just
because
time. There you go.
if you've joined us before in the past, obviously we go on at 10 p.m. Central Time here as we are located in the Central Time Zone here in the United States. And if by chance you're noticing my special background, my special backdrop that I got going on here tonight, that's because our guest tonight is my people, my people,
It's your people.
fellow
Hey,
Michiganders.
I'm representing too, man.
Fellow
I'm representing too.
Michiganders.
So
That's right. Oh, yeah. Hell yes. So we
that's,
have.
that's all I can represent, though. So
That's right. We have more Michigan than just me in the house tonight.
yeah, so
We
I'm
have.
outnumbered. So
That's right. We have joining us on the program here in just a minute. We have Eli and Kyle from Shadow of the Talisman out of Flint, Michigan. They will be joining us here in just a second. Give it a little bit of home state flair for everybody on here. So I don't even know if they're sports fans, to be completely honest with you, but giving them a little bit of taste of the home country. home
well, I
co-
mean,
home
you
country.
obviously
I almost said home country.
you obviously can't be from Michigan and not know a lot of the heritage of the programs there. I mean,
Well, that's true.
um, you know, college football's deep in roots,
Yeah.
and so is hockey. So I mean,
Yep.
so they got a lot going for them up there. So
Yeah.
as a Notre Dame fan, whether I like to admit it or not, but
Well, I mean, we have that
well, the
historical.
thing is, to me, I've always thought those two teams had a lot of mutual respect for each other. So
Yeah. We,
it ain't like those SEC teams that talk trash like year in and year out, and
yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, we do have a historical rivalry, my team and your team. And the good thing is we can at least all agree that Ohio State sucks.
well,
So
that's true,
I mean, there is that. But so
yeah.
when all else fails, you just hate on the Buckeyes. So
All right, I guess without further ado, we'll bring Eli and Kyle up in here. So let me get.
Oh,
there's
there.
Eli and there's Kyle.
Hey,
Good evening, gentlemen.
Welcome in, fellas.
howdy, howdy.
Thank you for
Good
joining
to
us.
be here.
Yeah, appreciate you.
First
Appreciate you
off,
taking your time.
that, I'm not a sports fan, so won't be able
Well,
to
there you go.
speak to any of the sports.
That's fun.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Chris, you can't take over the podcast with hockey content now. So
That's all right. That's all right. Well, hey,
every time we do a Canadian band, I'm like, shit, because I know we're going to spend like 30 minutes talking about hockey. Man, it's like,
It's the entire show's just hockey at that point.
somebody listening to it going, I thought we were talking about metal.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like wrestling doesn't come up in every episode we
It
do
does not. It
anyways.
does not. Don't even try this.
Oh,
Well,
my.
it does because there's a lot of comparisons with wrestling and entertainment in general. Acting,
That's
wrestling,
100% true.
music. I mean, they tend to deal with a lot of the same barriers a lot of times. So
That's true.
I thought it was real. What?
give you that
Actors?
one.
Oh,
Oh, no. Did we just break Eli's kayfabe?
oh man,
Santa's still real, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
he's
just
just
wrestled,
right?
he wrestled Jesus in Puerto Rico last week.
There you go.
Hey, it was Jesus in Puerto Rico.
Oh, was it Jesus? You're probably right. So, oh man, I gotta get my.
Send all hate mail to metalheaduniteusa@gmail.com.
That's right. Get my stuff going here. So.
You got to get the ticker.
Yeah, so everybody knows what we're
Oh,
talking
look at
about.
that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we usually do a program with like news and tour dates and just all the like informational stuff throughout the week and like 3 years. Well, 2022 is when we started like actually buckling down and trying to get bands on because we was trying to build
Right. Yep.
we was trying to build a fan base. We didn't want to bring somebody on and not have
Anybody
a
watching?
couple hundred people like already watching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really doing anybody any good if we're not doing you know have a little bit of fan base and try to bring people to you guys. So that's what we started for was just to give you a background. We started this because we were listening to music and realize there's some bands that's been around for a long time that we've never heard of, and we were hardcore metal fans. So it's kind of like, damn, if we ain't have
Mhm.
guys like who has? It's like kind of that thing. So when I come across bands like you guys and a lot of the bands we interviewed in the past, I'm like, man, these guys are so good. They need to be put out there a little bit more. So we try to take that opportunity to help do that. So
That's kind of the niche we decided to go with. So we kind of took
well,
it and
there
ran.
wasn't
And
there wasn't a lot of like when we researched this thing. There wasn't a lot of podcasts doing that. You look it up. Most guys are talking to Metallica and Anthrax and Guns. They're talking to big name bands. I'm like, well, everybody knows those stories. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
yep,
if you're a big metalhead, you already know most of those stories. So it's
Yeah.
it's cool to get a different introspective from other bands because I think every band goes through their own trials and tribulations with bands.
Oh,
So
100%.
it's good to get different perspectives because some of it comes up and helps another band sometimes because we've actually done that on the show and like, oh well, another band said they had that and they did this and the band we were talking goes, oh cool, we might try that. So
right. Yep.
it's kind of like a we could pass along information sometimes. So
Right.
And we've actually been able to make a few connections between bands and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting to know it's getting to know people, and then doing a little bit of networking by default and all that good stuff. So, excuse me. So, like Jason said, everyone kind of knows the stories, of all of our favorite bands. So we want to hear your guys' story, Eli, Kyle. So you guys formed in 2022,
Yep.
and as far as we can tell, the band is still all the original members from everything that we've at least been able to find. So is that true? All five still original members?
From our actual launch, yes. We had a little stint before with a different singer, but it was just for like one party that we just felt like friends.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, we've retained all the original members since we started in 2022, and I mean it's funny because Kyle and I both went to engineering school out in Flint,
cool.
Michigan. We went to Kettering together, and that
Oh shit. Okay.
we
All right.
yeah, it's funny you meet a musician at a an engineering school, and it's like, well,
But
it's,
no
you don't find them there, so it's like, well, you got to stick together, And of course, I was a bassist, and I found out he was a drummer, and I was like, we got to jam together sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, like, of course, and
And
then
the college had the crappiest music room in all existence.
it's the worst. I mean, so the actual. Yeah, the space wasn't bad. It was just like the drum kit sucked. Like all the speakers they had in there were just terrible. Ugh, it was a nightmare.
But we made it work. We jammed out to Metallica, Avenged, Tool, like you name it, anything rhythm sections like playing. We were jamming.
We hit it
out.
off on it.
Yeah.
Well, the funny, the kind of the ironic thing is one of you's a drummer and one of you's the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on who you ask, arguably the hardest two members of the band to try to nail down and hold on to, like some of the a lot of the bands we've interviewed in the past. I mean, this kind of like, well, we had a hard time finding a bass player, and once we found one, he couldn't stay, and then it's hard to nail down a drummer. So I mean, you guys by default kind of had the hardest part of the band figured out already. So you guys kind of lucked into it.
You started out with the hardest part and worked our way out. That's a good
Right.
that's a good way to go, I guess.
It's surprising to me because I heard I'm in the scene. I hear a lot, and I guess I never knew finding a bassist or a drummer was like the hardest thing to do because for us it was finding a legit vocalist. That was like the world's hardest task to do. But because I don't know, I guess being a bassist and being one who's not to toot my own horn or anything, but I like to think I'm very dedicated to the band, and on any project that I'm on, it's like either I'm in it or that's it. I just don't do it in general. So it was so surprising to me where everyone's like, oh, I can't find a bassist. And I'm like, what do you mean? Put your guitar player on bass. Like what?
Well, yeah, we've had some bands
Yeah,
that have
we've
had to
had
do
to,
that too. Yeah, we've
Well,
interviewed. We interview them, and they're like, "Well, I'm actually a guitar player by trade, but I
right,
had to
but
play
true, yeah.
bass." And so that's happened a few times. We've come across that too. Yeah.
And you can toot your own horn because I'm going to do it before the show's over. So
No, well, I
I'm
try
gonna,
to be humble. I don't,
I'm gonna,
it's
uh,
Don't let him fool you. Eli is an incredible bassist. I know.
yeah.
I'm very
Well,
fortunate that I found him in college, and it's been going on 2 years now like this, and we got a good lineup. I'm impressed with all of us, and kind of going on like bassists, doing guitar parts and vice versa. The five of us started with our original instruments and never really branched out too much. So
No,
I
that's cool.
excelled in drums, Eli excelled in bass, and your guitarist only ever learned guitar. So like, thankfully, we're all very good at our own instruments, which is cool.
mhm.
So you mentioned a couple of bands. Are those like some of the inspirations for you guys writing or anything? Or like,
Yeah, a lot of Metallica. It's because our one of our guitarists Owen, who may or may not be joining later, he and I used to jam back in high school. But he didn't go to my high school. It's just like I knew him from like he was like a friend of a friend, and he was like, oh, he plays guitar, so you should jam with him because you play bass. And I was like, okay. And like Owen is like a die-hard Metallica fan. Like I genuinely think the only thing he listens to is Metallica. That's like all he listens to. That's all he plays.
Well, a few
Which
other
is great.
things, but aren't PG.
Yeah,
We can't
yeah,
discuss them.
yeah. He's a shyster.
He's a hoot.
But
okay, all right.
yeah, he only listens to Metallica. But like I'm a big Primus guy. I'm a big like Tool fan. Big just a
okay.
bunch of thrash metal. Kyle's a big Tool guy as well. I mean, you can list off a bunch.
I know, like at least in one track, I thought, yeah, I know at least one track I heard, I was like, yeah, that's kind of a Avenged Sevenfold there.
Yeah, I
Oh,
actually.
100%.
Let's see. I actually made a note.
And it actually,
Yep. Yeah, I made a note about it.
Chris,
Yep.
you'll know. I don't know those. They may not know the band, but the one that I'm talking about actually reminded me of Devil more than it did Avenged Sevenfold. There's a band called DVL Devil.
They
They're out,
pronounce it devil. Yeah.
they're over
I
in
don't think I've heard of them before.
where they Scott.
They're based out of Glasgow, Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were one of our earlier guests
Yeah.
in the very first year, and they were admittedly heavily influenced by Avenged
Yeah.
Sevenfold, and
And
you can tell.
tell.
You can tell. They made
And-
no bones about it. I mean,
Right. And I told him, I said, well, I mean, you can sound like old school Avenged Sevenfold because they don't even sound like it anymore. So, I mean,
that's
That's right. Just take it.
That's 100%.
it's not taken anymore. You can just take it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Hey, hot take. I actually really enjoyed the new album. I think it's one of my favorites.
did too.
Yeah,
Wow,
100%.
really?
All right. Well,
I mean, we're big prog guys. Like we like
That's
different
true,
things,
yes.
and it's as different as you can get for Avenged Sevenfold. I mean,
well, no.
granted,
That is 100% true. I will give you that.
It was very
I will
different.
give you that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. There are still some less than stellar tracks on there,
Well,
but
yeah.
he's still
Easier.
enjoyable. Yeah, easier was not. Ugh,
Anytime
not a
we're
good
writing
track.
music and like get stuck, one of us while we just start doing like that weird synth like laser
Oh, yeah.
noise, be like, guys, we gotta
Like
throw
the
this
snaps.
in. Man, it's so bad.
Yeah. So I would say, as far as the latest Avenged Sevenfold album goes, we're in the room right now. We're 2-2. So because
Oh, okay.
we don't need to talk about Avenged Sevenfold for too long, but I mean I've been listening to them since the inception, and I've listened to them all along the way and hear them develop. They went M Shadows went completely clean when City of Evil came out, and you could argue that that's when they made it or sold out, whatever your fucking opinion is on it. But
Well, I mean, that's what he had to do. What he had to do,
Right,
So
which that-
vocals,
right, which that is not my opinion. Making it does not equal selling out.
Exactly.
Changing your sound and making it big does not equal selling out, as far as I'm concerned. But
It's just
Coming-
developing.
yeah, exactly. You evolve and you mature and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
kind of in the same vein as Trivium, really, because earlier on in Trivium's career, Matt Heafy was more of mostly the screaming stuff
Right.
like that, and then he would
Literals.
sprinkle in some of his cleans, and then he made as it went on, you could see the ratio kind of shift in the other direction. And even now, when Court of the Dragon came out, he still does it. He still does both. Still
Yeah.
primarily clean though, but he still has a good mix. But listening to Avenged Sevenfold come along, and when they got to the last couple albums, I was like, for me personally, I was just like, this isn't really the Avenged Sevenfold I know. And like I say, it's not a bad thing necessarily, because you don't want to disturb yourself. You don't want to be like same thing all along. So, and we love Disturbed here too, but so you do have to at some point be like, all right, let's try something different. And we totally give credit for them trying that. It just didn't really work for us per se, so.
That's
But
right.
hey, but say at the same time, to each their own. I mean, they've been around long enough where they've earned the right to kind of carte blanche it, so they've earned that right.
Well, I'm not saying like every track on the album was horrible or nothing. I'm just like it wasn't one of my, Hail to the King is still probably going to be one of my favorites. But
I think I was telling Eli when it came out. It's like I loved The Stage. That's probably my second favorite album by them after City of Evil. But it's like Life Is But a Dream was almost like it should have been the second album after The Stage. Like go a little more progressive, and then do Life Is But a Dream. Kind of ease into like that weird.
Actually, I kind of agree with that.
yeah,
I think I can kind of agree. They definitely jumped in with both feet. They absolutely did.
Oh yeah.
And they waited a long time too, which is crazy. So
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I think because when Avenged Sevenfold released The Stage, nobody knew about it till it came out.
right,
Literally nobody knew
Iron
about
Maiden,
it.
everybody.
Yeah, nobody knew about it till it came out, and then it came out, and then they were kind of surprised at the lukewarm reception it got. But but at the same time they were like, well, that keeping it a secret thing may have kind of backfired on us a little bit. So
Right, yeah.
with this new album, they didn't do that. They kind of like, all right, here's a single, and they did the normal lead up. So they
Single.
did right, yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah, well, yeah, but
Nobody.
they did a little bit more of the traditional lead up to it. So, but yeah, kudos to them for as far as trying what they tried, and they'll be fine moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be fine moving forward. They'll get back to basics at some point. Maybe not all the way to sounding the seventh trumpet, but they'll get there.
No way.
But so you were mentioning something about some vocalist issues in the beginning. So what did Mike do that impressed you guys to bring him in as the new singer?
Back to the Kettering Music Room is, we lost our first vocalist. Great dude, everything just wasn't working out. So we went through a few other vocalists, and then through Facebook, we ended up finding Mike. So, the four of us met at the music room. He showed up, and there were two people practicing there when we were going to do our practice. So we're waiting outside, see when they're going to finish up. Well, they just kept playing. So eventually, we're like, hey, Mike, like, it might not work today. Like, we try another time. He's like, screw this. So he went in the room. He's like, hey, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, like, we got band practice today. Is it cool? Like, when are you guys going to wrap up? They're like, oh, yeah, no, we'll pack up right now. Can we listen to you guys play? And then we all started looking at each other.
We were like, no, like, we're auditioning Mike. Like, what? No, why would you, you have an audience for that? That's kind of weird.
But thankfully, Mike, just the person he is like, well, I'm actually auditioning, but, stick around. So we did.
He was all for it.
What song? It was For Whom the Bell Tolls,
Yep.
Toxicity. There was like four songs we had him learn. I forgot what four, but I remember we started.
It had to have
with
been Master.
And we did end with Master, yeah.
Yeah.
But we started with For Whom, and just as soon as we started playing, Mike always tells us, I know this is the band for me because he liked their sound. And then when he came in with the opening line, we all started looking at each other. We were like, wow.
That's it?
Fits. Yeah.
So you just knew at that point, right?
No further questions. We were like, yep. That's literally the first line he came in. We were like, that's the guy.
Yep. And funny enough, he came from a southern rock band, so he's seen him.
Really? Yeah, you could not tell that.
He's seen us. He's going to jump into that right away. So we're very fortunate.
One of the things I liked about the way you guys did things is the way the tempo switched up, and he was able to to mean like really impressed with whatever it was asked of him on this album. I think it's like whether you slowed it down or sped it up or just outright thrashed it. He was like, you could tell he was just on the money, dude. Like I was just man when I heard him, dude, just doing like I'm trying to remember the one track that y'all kind of slowed down a little bit. Was it Curse? Maybe, yeah.
Curse.
I think that was it. Yeah, because when I heard that, I'm like, dude, this is great. And my wife never heard this album because I did the review on it a couple weeks ago. Yep. My wife's never heard this until today, and she says, dude, this is going to be one of the new bands I like. she was like, I've turned her on to you guys too. So she's a big Kill Switch fan, and I think that's one of the things she likes about those guys is the way they do the tempos back and forth, and not stick to one like I guess like I think the last Devil Driver album, Dealing with Demons Part 2 or whatever, kind of one of the tracks on there kind of made me mad because it sounded like one from the first Dealing with Demons album. So it's kind of like they had a tempo and it didn't work with the lyrics they had, so they just created a whole new lyric for that tempo. But it sounded almost exactly like the thing. And I'm just like, wait a minute, this sounds like the others. I can't remember which song it was that was on the new album, but I was just like, it sounds just like that song. What the hell? But I mean, they were both great albums. Don't get me wrong, but it was still like kind of like, this one may have been written a little lazy, but it's like we'll just throw some new lyrics on this and just throw it out there. Well, I mean, I guess at some point you have to do that, or you're just trashing, you're just trashing music at some point. But I know we talked to one band on here that they had so much compiled, and they're trying to move into a new sound direction. So they put out an EP and an LP last year, just to get all their older stuff out.
Yeah, they were kind of clearing out the notebook.
And they said they're going to try to do come back with a little bit different approach with their next albums. Like, man, that's good to do. Just get all of it because I think he felt like if it's there, then they'll tend to go back. Kind of ease back to it or something. He's like, hey, if I got it all gone, I'm not looking back. So
start fresh.
So yeah. They've been around a while, so they can do that. But like I said, I like the way and I'll tell you something else I liked about you guys is I noticed, and I'm going to build you up here a little bit. So Eli, so the song "Dead with the Devil." Man, that bass line, like as soon as it hit, I'm like, oh, dude, this is it. This is it. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be. That's a dope ass bass line.
That was actually one of the notes I had on that song too.
Yeah,
it was talking about how spooky the intro was with that bass line. How it just shit was tight. How it gave it like a little bit of an ethereal feel to it right there in the open. That was one of the notes I made too.
Yeah, Dead with the Devil is one of those songs off our album that doesn't actually get talked a lot, surprisingly. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, every review is like, oh, Arise this. What is real that? Fire already said this. And then you get to Dead with the Devil. It's like, yeah, it exists. And then they like,
oh my god.
So, which is so funny to me because, like, that's one of my favorites. Probably,
obvious reasons. Sure. Yeah. No,
obvious reasons.
Well, it probably is my favorite on there, just to let you know that. So.
Oh, well. So.
I'll be completely honest. I'm still actually up in the air as far as that goes. I mean, I listened to the album all this week. Mm-hmm. I'm probably about a half a dozen times, and and as far as I'm concerned, this is a good thing. But I don't know what my favorite song is yet.
And they're also good, dude. I mean,
that's exactly it. Because I listened to it on my way back and forth to work like I always do. Jason knows that's how I listen to a lot of my music. But last night, I came in here in the office, I closed the door, and I literally just sat here and listened to the album, and I focused on everything because I wanted to make track by track notes. That way we had stuff. Mm-hmm. That way I had talking points and bullet points and everything. And I'm going all the way down, and like I say, this is probably like the 6th time I listened to the album last night, and I'm still sitting here. Even right now, as we're talking about it, going, I still don't know.
Yeah, we're trying to get you guys. We're trying to get you guys on Spotify residuals. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's well, even for us, because I mean, some artists have like favorite songs off of every album. For us, it was really hard to find stuff that was like our favorites too. Mm-hmm. Like going back and listening to it. When I go back and listen to it, I still don't have a favorite. I have like ones that I like more than the others, but like it's hard to sit there and go like, this one is the best one.
It's been hard for me to nail down.
Mhm.
It really
I
has.
think, yeah, I think I could probably say that too. You know, like I said, that's probably going to be my go-to song, honestly, just because I used to play bass. I'm not as good as
Mhm.
that for sure, but I always like. To me, that's always the hardest instrument to pick out of some albums.
Oh, that was
So
not.
when
That
you
was
hear something
absolutely
like
not
that,
the problem here.
yeah, right. So when you do hear something like that, you kind of tend to take that away. I think just because
Mhm.
that is the case most of the time.
No, I'm the same way, dude. I hear like I hear a prominent bass line on something, and I'm like, that's it. I
Yep,
love it.
yep, I
No
love it. Yep,
questions.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that was.
I think any of those songs could be a favorite, just depending on what kind of mindset or mood you're in any day. Those, I mean, I
Oh yeah.
think I could. There's no song on here I could just put. Actually, I ain't gonna lie. I've had this album on repeat for like 3 days. So, so,
Yeah.
so it's unless my granddaughter gets in the car and then bullies me and hijacks my radio with
Right.
Oh yeah.
Disney songs, but
Yeah. Time to listen to Frozen.
oh god, well, no, we try to make sure we skip those, but yeah, she's into some at least she listens to like Rihanna's stuff, so that that's
Oh,
kind
there
of
you go.
tolerable.
You're right.
So it's a lot more than building snowmen. So,
Absolutely.
That's true.
but
That's
but
true.
I think the thing like with this album, I think Chris would probably agree with me is when we were listening to this because I don't know if you follow Warbringer or not, but they just come out with a new record. That's like one of our favorite bands, and like they come out with a new record and had 8 tracks on it. And I think this one we could probably say the same thing about. Once I went through the 8, I'm like, oh man, that's it. Come on, more.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Can I
did.
get 2 more? Can I get
Right.
2
Yeah.
more? I mean, it's already kind of lengthy though. It's already like
Yeah.
tracking at 47. The last 2
It,
tracks kind of take up a majority of that. But
yeah. About
Yep.
eight.
yeah, yeah.
About 18 minutes between the
Yeah.
two. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we was actually listening to As Above, and I think that's what got my wife hooked. And she's like, "Wait, is this the same song?"
That's one of the.
It's like-
That I did the same thing.
I said, "Yeah, it's the
The
same song."
exact.
Honey.
I did the exact same.
She
I
said,
did.
"Jesus, it's 8 minutes long." I said, "I'll just wait," because she didn't. Because
Just
we
wait
had
for
it on the
minute
screen,
10.
she couldn't see the next one. So
Yeah.
she
It
goes, "Oh my
was
god, that was 9." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
it
See
was
that.
this
I.
close to being one full song.
It was originally planned to
It
be one full track, just with 4
Yeah.
Oh
parts. You
wow,
know.
was
nice.
originally titled Showdown for the longest time, and it was going to be this epic 4-part piece. Is going to probably turn to 17 minutes, and then I don't know how it started, but then the idea of As Above, So Below came in. We're like, well, how about we split up this song, make it
Wasn't it?
8 and 9 minutes instead of
Wasn't that
7.
at our guitarist's wedding? Because
It
your
was.
girlfriend,
Yep, it was at
fiance, right
Owen's
now.
wedding. Yep.
Yeah.
So I like the. So she was talking about those 2 tracks, and she says, "Oh, it's As Above, and the next one's So Below," and they kind of go together. I said, "Yeah." I
Hmm.
said because if you think about it, I like it because the As Above is kind of a slower. So you think about, oh, okay, this one's come from heaven, and then the So Below one's heavier, so it came from hell. So,
Hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way I took it. But
No, me.
I know
No,
everybody's
absolutely. Me
got their
too.
own way of writing things and their own mindset when they're doing the writing. So,
This
We
album.
definitely.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, okay.
You go. You
I'll
go.
be quick. Okay. This
Okay.
album, it's definitely there is a very direct story about the outlaw versus the dark
right,
one, whatnot. But if the more you listen to it, you realize there are deeper undertones. Like, it can be metaphors for society and be metaphors for addiction and whatnot. And I like the way you put it, Jason, with As Above being the more happier piece, and that's the song
right.
that represents the outlaw to us and like his ambitions.
Mhm.
And then So Below obviously being the much heavier one, style wise and
Mhm.
dark and everything. So yeah. There's a lot of different ways to read the album.
Oh
It
yeah, for
depends who
sure.
you are. You can pull
And
different things from it.
Yeah.
we definitely structured it to be that way too. Because we were very. I wouldn't say very, but we were a little adverse to doing a concept album for a first album because I mean, like, who does that, right? But as we were fleshing out the songs, we tried to make it as vague as possible so that way people can kind of draw their own interpretation to kind of
Mhm.
have because like we're making art here,
Right.
and why do you make art? Because you want to like give people some emotions, or you want them to like really think about what you're saying, and so we spent a lot of time kind of trying to bridge that line between like we're telling a story but we don't want to be like, well, the Outlaw did this, and then the Dark One said that, and it's so we spent a lot of time doing that with the story elements to kind of make it as vague as possible, so that way you can listen to it, really get it into your system, and kind of like come to your own conclusions. But not only with that, we also did it with the music side of things too. Like you mentioned, sitting down and actually like focusing in on the album. We spent a lot of time like with every track, how do we do like callbacks to track one, or how do we incorporate the melody from What Is Real? We spent quite a painstaking amount of effort doing that. So just so that way people not only could get, the the story and then like the meaning that they want, but also like really they can really sit there and while they're doing that digest the music and the art that we're presenting.
Yeah, and each listen you're gonna discover something new. And just to further state what Eli's saying is, I think everything in this album we really dug into, and everything was done for a reason. Well, I don't think there's any mistakes on the album. We're like, hey, this section's got to do that because of this, and this has to do that now because of what we did earlier. So it's pretty. It was fun to make, but there's definitely some points in writing where like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why can't we just write and call it good?
So with looking at the track set, is there like a timeline kind of going a timeline flow with the track set, or?
Yep. So
top to bottom.
Arise is the only exception because that kind of like summarizes the story to be told.
Gotcha.
But then from What Is Real to So Below, then it
follows. Yeah, it follows the journey of the Outlaw.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a book. You get like a little pre-summary, and then you get a book.
Prologue.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is it's to me there's a little bit of an irony to that the fact that the first track is the prologue, because one of the things that I noted with Arise is that the intro to the story and the intro to the album had a 2-minute intro before the lyrics, even before any of the vocals even.
Right.
So there was an intro to the intro, and what I liked about it is that it wasn't a separate entity. Mm-hmm. That's what I liked about it. So it was like an intro within an intro that wasn't torn apart, wasn't separated, and I liked that. That was one of the things of course I noticed it. I noticed it from the first listen, but it wasn't until I sat down with it last night that I actually more or less timed it. I was like, all right, how long? Because I was like, that is quite the intro before the first verse kicks in. And I was like, last night I was looking at the little time bar. I was like, holy shit, like 2 minutes and 5 seconds or whatever it was. So I was like, shit, I need it's like 2-minute intro. So I mean, so I like because it was a build up. And I liked that. It wasn't necessarily a crescendo because it didn't really, there wasn't really a slow build to it, but it kind of did for me. Kind of hit a crescendo before the. Yeah, it did. That's actually a more accurate description than what I went for. Now, another thing that I noted about the intro to that, and I don't know that. I've heard it a million times over the years, even going back to when I was a kid. I never knew the name. The effect that you guys put in there where it goes from one channel to the other. What the hell is that effect called? Like where the sound, like if you got if there's an airplane going overhead and you can hear it go from right to left.
Yeah, I think that's actually tremolo. Wait,
okay,
no, maybe not. There's because they used to do it in like rotary amps. It's the kind of like a same effect, but it's just a pan effect that kind of goes.
Yeah, I don't know. The funny thing is I've never known the name of that effect, but regardless,
I'll put it in the chat. I'm not going to butcher the pronunciation.
Come on.
So regardless of the fact that I don't know what the fuck it's called, I liked the fact that it did that because that was one of the things. I'm listening to it, and then it kind of builds, and I hear it going from one ear to the other. I was like, that's so fucking cool. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. So I've actually never known the name of that effect.
So I think this is what it is. It's
okay, hang on.
Binaural audio.
Oh, binaural audio. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Where it's kind of like surround sound.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
I learned something new today. The
There you go.
name of that effect. So that I do. I appreciate.
Don't quote me though. I think
Yeah,
that's what it's
there's a
called.
quick Google search right
All
there.
right.
But to elaborate on that too, though, you mentioned not separating the intro from the actual track. Is we went back and forth with that with our studio guy Mark for Maydon, which huge shout outs to him. He did us so well.
Yes.
But because he also acted as kind of a producer because as a first time album makers, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you may have thought about, but you didn't actually think about. So like we didn't think about bleed leads, like actually adding parts behind your chorus to make it sound bigger. Like the parts don't matter, like they don't really amount to anything, but it just helps widen your sound. We didn't even think about that. We were just like 2 guitar parts, bass, drums, vocals, done. Right? Like we didn't really think about a lot of that stuff. But he brought up when we were doing Arise, is he was like, why not separate it? Because when you go to play your song just listen to it on its own, you want to get right to the meat for your listeners. And we had to sit there and like almost fight with them and be like, no, like we want, like, it's the intro to the album. We need to take our time with it, so that way it kind of builds your expectation and it builds tension. That's half the battle in music, is building and releasing tension. So it like having it, like, yes, it is a very long intro for a song, and it does take up like a majority of it, but it really we left it in there because it adds so much to not only the track but also to the album if you listen to it from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I think that creates something for you guys in a live, audience too. With that song is like if you wanted to start out with that song, you got that 2-minute intro before Mike comes out swinging. So, so I think that's a good thing that you always got in your hip pocket.
We walk out to Arise. Sometimes we come out the gate with a fiery descent. Other times, it's like, let's screw this and see what is real. But a lot of the times it is Arise just to set the tone. And before I forget to say it too, a little fun fact of the album with that really long intro. It was kind of accidental, but it starts with that wind noise when it circles your head.
Mm-hmm.
The album ends with the same.
I made that note. I made that note.
So if you want to, look at it more abstractly, the whole album's just a giant loop.
Yeah.
The story repeats, and as above, so below.
Right.
That's right. Yep. I did. Track number 8. That's one of the so below. That's one of the notes I made. The bass outro with the wind, just like the intro.
Yeah.
I was trying to pull up my review because it was actually during our last live guests that we reviewed. I reviewed this album, so I had to go back to the actual page where I reviewed it to find it or whatever. But I think that, like I was talking about earlier, is like there was certain songs in there that you could pick out certain instruments being highlighted, and I think that's a good thing. Is like, because it shows, like, to me, I don't know, I just like that because it shows that, hey, everybody in the band should be in the spotlight at some point. You know what I mean? So it kind of creates a more of a I don't want to say like a fair deal, but you kind of get where I'm coming from. Because I mean, we've talked about even singers that have been around for 30, 40 years getting, well, I'm going to be in the front of the band. Well, you weren't the fucking creator of the band. Why should you be in the front? It's kind of like we just did a story about that a while back, and it's like, I mean, they got a point. You're not the, why should you be in the front? Just because you're the lead singer doesn't mean you get to be in the front all the time. I was like, but I mean, I get that though, but I like that. But like I said, of course, we talked about the bass being heavily featured on Dead with the Devil. But I thought the guitar solos on Fiery Descent was awesome too. I thought that was some really good work on the guitar work on that song. So, and that's kind of like stood out to me on that track. So,
well, I mean, for me, I mean, talking about just the guitar solos. I mean, the solo on Fiery Descent, the multiple solos that were on so As Above and on So Below. I mean, well, that's the thing. The way they were written, composed, the structure of them, and how long they were. That was one of the notes that I made, is how long the guitar solos were. I mean, they really, conveyed emotion. They were structured the way they were structured, the way they kind of moved the story along. But at the same time, the length of them was phenomenal, and it was just incredible to me to see.
We
Yeah,
have some very, very talented guitarists, and
Oh yeah.
I know as a drummer, I don't know much about guitar, but I really like our two players. Both take solos throughout the album. They have
Mhm.
such unique styles that the more you listen, you kind of start hearing, okay, this is Zach playing, this is Owen playing, and thematically too, it represents the two characters with the emotion they're playing. So, like, props to guitarists for writing those solos. It's
Yeah, we
I can
definitely
never
kind of
do it.
shafted them with that. Like, hey, go write a guitar solo battle. Like, what?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they hated every bit of that. Yeah.
Yes. And that was the rhythm section's idea, of course.
Yeah, we were like, dude, it'd be so cool if we had like a guitar battle, and then they were like, yeah, I guess.
Well, one thing. The funny thing is like the twin guitar attack is like it's like a classic staple of heavy metal just in general. I mean, it doesn't have to adhere to like thrash or power or anything. It's just a classic. It's just a classic element of heavy metal. And the funny thing is I'm not going to speak for Jason, but I mean, I've kind of seen that making a comeback where, I mean, a lot of bands don't have just like, this is the lead guitar player. He's going to do all the solos because he's the lead. This is the rhythm guy. He's, so I mean, I'm slowly seeing that make a comeback to where of course, it never really went anywhere, I guess, because I mean, Priest and Iron Maiden,
it just wasn't
Priest
featured as much,
right?
Not as many bands featured as they are now,
right? Because Priest and Iron Maiden are still around, and as long as they're around, that'll still be, it'll still be prevalent. But
Arch Enemy,
right? Yeah, them too. Which they have a new album coming out next week. I'm so happy. But a lot of younger bands, like I don't know how old you guys are as a collective, but I mean, yeah. So. but a lot of the younger bands like you guys are holding on to that, and as far as we're concerned, being 80s thrash metal guys at heart, that's good to see for us, and as far as we're concerned, it's good for health of heavy metal as a whole. That is still around and is still being incorporated. And incorporated well. Let's be honest. You guys did a phenomenal job.
And that's something we kind of preach on with the show is like, are we Ghost fans? No. Are we Tool fans? No. But those fans are part of the community, and we're not going to like knock on them just because we don't like it. I mean, that's just I still put we got a 24/7 streaming radio station. There's still Tool and stuff on there.
Yeah, there's everything. Everything is.
So
on.
I mean, everything's on there. There's death metal. We don't listen to a lot of death metal, but it's on the radio station.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for everybody.
Everything.
It's not for me to listen to only. I mean, it's so and plus I'm an admin, so I can skip the track if I don't like it. But
that's true. That's true. But I don't think there's a single subgenre that's not represented on our radio station.
Probably not.
Because that's not what we're about here. Of course, we have our own personal preferences. We gravitate a little bit more towards this, that, and the other thing. But I mean, we've said it from the get-go. We represent heavy metal. Bottom line, it doesn't matter where it's from. Norway, Denmark, Australia, India, South America, Canada. I mean, Japan. I mean, we've interviewed bands from all of those places, except for Japan. We haven't been to Japan yet, but I mean, there's heavy metal from everywhere. There's Mongolia, there's New Zealand. I mean, there's heavy metal everywhere, and we're trying to represent. We're trying to do our best, just the two of us, to hold that down. And even if it's something that we don't listen to on a daily basis, it's all part of the collective, all part of the health of the genre moving forward. So we want it all to do well. All of it. When Gojira played at the Olympics, that was like, oh, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. So I mean, granted, it was what, 3.5 minutes, that performance from start to finish. It was like, that was a perfect.
That's all it needed.
That's what I'm saying. It was a perfect 3.5 minutes, and the entire world saw it.
Yeah, and it won a Grammy for
I
it.
actually still listen to the single that they released from that
So
performance.
It's
Oh,
so good.
I love
Yeah.
it.
I saw
was
them. I
fantastic.
saw them live. I was visiting Arizona with a friend of mine in Arizona last fall, and Korn and Gojira and Spirit Box happened to be coming through. And I said, "Hey, we're going.
That
We're
was
going to
such
that."
a good
So,
concert.
and they played that there. I think that's how they opened. Actually, was with
I
that
wouldn't
song.
have if that's what they did.
So it was pretty cool. I was just like, "Oh man, this is great." I said, "That's the Olympic song." I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah.
Did they bring on an opera singer for that? Or,
I can't remember. I don't think. I think they just had they just had something
No,
planned.
oh, okay, I gotcha.
Mario ended up doing the vocals.
Did he?
What?
Okay.
Yeah, he
Really?
didn't operize it, but he ended up doing the the
Oh
opera
yeah, the
thing.
part.
Yeah,
In his own
Okay,
style,
that's cool.
obviously.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
that was
no,
my favorite thing about the performance was that they included like opera and like a lot of symphonic metal parts in there too.
Well,
they
and
Because they didn't really come
the-
out until they had like some fire pyros go off, and then
Yeah.
then you seen them, but because they had a Gojira drop, and then they dropped, hit the pyros, and then the music went off. So you couldn't really tell who was doing what at that point with everything going on. It's kind of like, okay, what's happening here? But
yeah, the performance at the Olympics with the Marie Antoinette, symbolism and stuff like that. It was so over the top, but it was so well done at the same
So
time.
good.
and I
phenomenal.
honestly think all the negative they got talked about, it helped it too. Because it's like
Well,
I was always told when and here we go, Chris. When I was in wrestling,
I
here we go.
told you it was going to happen.
but I had a guy tell me that. He's like, "Hey, because it kind of bothered me that people were talking shit about me on social media because it was just like a fresh thing in the 2000s, And I was like, it was MySpace at that point. I was just like, "What do you know me for? I don't know these fucking people." And he was just like, "Dude, let me tell you something. If you get good publicity or bad publicity, they're still talking about you.
That's right. Yeah.
It don't matter." So when he told me that, dude, I just took it to heart. From now on, I just ignore all the bad stuff. I mean, there's been bad stuff said about the show. I don't care. You don't listen to it. I mean, that's your. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
And like somebody was talking crap to us one day, like, blah, 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 like, hey, yeah, thanks for the clicks, man. Because they all count. Whether you're a bot, it still counts, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, the analytics are still trending this way. So
Yes, clearly something's right. No, we have the same mindset. Because obviously with anything you do, and especially as a smaller creator too, you're gonna get all sorts of crazy negative feedback. And because I run my own socials too, I'm trying to build them up, and it's every day in and out there's always like some kind of negativity and stuff. But we all collectively we try and because in every negative comment there is maybe just a little bit of truth about something,
Right.
So it's like, oh, I didn't like X, Y, and Z because and you're like, well, why didn't you like X, Y, and Z? And then because they're already like negative out, they're like, oh, I'm gonna keep hating those guys, so they're gonna tell you, and then it's like, oh, well, you didn't like you didn't like this part because it was like it wasn't enough aggression, so it's like, oh, well, maybe next time we do that, incorporate a little more, so there's always something you can get from negative. I mean, obviously there's going to be like the shit posters who are just like,
oh sure, yeah,
you can't really get anything from them, but there's always
Thanks
something.
for the feedback. And move on,
Yeah, there's always something you can get, and it's always we're trying to always be constructive with things. Like how do we do better next time if we did fuck up.
Well, the funny thing is I mean, there's never gonna be a perfect album that every single person likes. There's just no such thing. And
that's how art is.
Yeah, so I mean, there's never going to be anything that you put out that everyone is going to like every second of every track. So I mean, so I guess technically there's always room for improvement as long as people aren't assholes about it. So I mean that's fine. You'd be like, because like what you just said, if someone was like, well, I didn't care for this part of this song, you can take that to heart and kind of make a mental note of it, or even write it down, just like maybe focus on this next time. But at the same time, if someone doesn't like, if someone doesn't like the solo on Fiery Descent, it's like, okay, well then just listen to track 4. It'll probably have a solo that you like, So I mean, it's, so I mean, if someone doesn't like one thing, I mean, there's probably something else they can latch onto, or either that, or they're just being a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian. And there are those people out there, unfortunately.
It's fun sometimes.
It can. Well, I mean, it can be for
You know?
sure. Absolutely. But as far as as far as, making the second album for you guys, I'm sure you guys have already got notes. I mean, you've probably got
Oh
some
yeah.
riffs and lyrics and all this stuff written, so now that the album's come out, it's been out a month now, I'm sure you're already starting to get feedback. I mean, you've gotten feedback from us already. So, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten feedback. You're
Other
getting,
podcasts too.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, other interviews, other podcasts, so the memory banks are starting to, fill, and everything is all right,
Mhm.
this hit, this missed, stuff like that. So you guys have already collected data, and you're already
Oh
compiling
yeah.
this, that, and the other thing. So, but that's the thing is, I mean, constructive criticism is fine, but people being just dicks for the sake of it. I mean, you sort through that, and you just put that in the bullshit pile, and you're able to just move forward. So that's
Yeah.
one of the good things, and the you're able to kind of able to do that on the fly.
Yeah.
Thankfully that's one of the, I guess, kind of the advantages of all the technology we have now. It's kind of in real time. So like, all right, that guy was a prick. We can ignore him, and then let's listen to all these other people that, this podcast or this website or this social media site that gave us, a 9 out of 10, an 8.5 out of 10. This is what they liked. Maybe they didn't care for this, but that's fine because we still liked it because it's still ours at the end of the day. Like you said, like like Kyle, like you said, we didn't find any mistakes on the album. Everything that we put out is right where we wanted it, and it was written the way we wanted it, and we're happy with all 8 tracks front to back. So here you go. Here's what we put together. This is our offering. We hope you enjoy, and
Mhm.
if not, nobody bats 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an important thing. Is I know the five of us primarily we're writing for us first, and then
Of
of
Right.
course.
course we started writing the second album. We're taking in this feedback we already gotten, but if it's bad feedback that we don't like, we aren't going to do it because again, we're writing this new album and we wrote Ass B for us. It's
Right.
our music. We want
It's
to
your
enjoy it
yeah.
first.
It's your band. Who gives a shit? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't even think we asked this question yet, because I mean we were talking about the kind of like the evolution of the band and how Mike came along. How did Zach and Owen kind of, enter this whole thing? How did they kind of enter the fray? I don't
I
think
knew
we I don't think
Owen
we I don't
and
think we touched on that yet.
yeah, so I knew Owen. I did touch on it a little bit. I knew Owen from high school. He was an
Oh,
old
that's
band
right.
buddy.
That's
But
right. That's
I
right.
had, I hadn't talked to him in like years when I reached out for him to join the band. And then Kyle actually knew Zach from high school.
Yep.
Funnily enough.
So in high school, Zach's was 2 grades ahead of me, and I was in the normal band class. He was in the guitar class. Well, their guitar ensemble always invited me to be the guest drummer. So I knew Zach by association, but we never talked in high school.
Mhm.
So when Eli and I got together and was like, "Hey, let's form a band," I was like, "Hey, I know this buddy from high school. He's in Guns N' Roses, Zeppelin, all this. Let's jam with him." Eli pulled in Olin, and then then we had Mike pull in. So that's kind of how all this formed
okay.
was past connections, and then getting Mike at the end, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
So that is going to bring me to one question I wanted to ask is how did the name of the band come up? Because I mean, if you look at that, you're thinking, oh, that's a European power metal band, or because you see the name and that's going to be your first thought.
Yeah.
So
It
how
was
did that
a
kind of come about?
it was a struggle to say the least. We because we are very particular about meetings and stuff, as you can tell, and it was actually made before Mike joined. I
Yeah.
remember we sat there for like what it was like a week, 2 weeks, just going back and forth. I'm like,
It was like a
let's try it.
month. Go under-
Yeah, it was a rough time. Like we sat there and was like, well, what? Because you got to find a good name that rolls off the tongue, has meaning, and isn't already taken, which is the
Right.
big one.
That
'Cause
seems
everything
that
good
seems
is
yep.
it's already taken. Like we would come up with like, oh, let's do like this, and then you look it up and it's like, oh, it was some like thrash metal band from like the '85 or like something. I don't know, something like that. And so we
Right.
we spent a lot of time deliberating, and I remember we landed on Talisman was the big one, and we were like, we like that
which was
because
taken though.
yes,
But
The,
yeah,
it was taken
the single word, yeah.
just the single word. So we were
Yeah.
like, well, what do we do from there? And I think it was Shadow Talisman was the next idea. And we were like, well, we like that because, talisman, which surprises me that nobody knows the definition of talisman if you talk to people for some reason. It is actually a religious like effigy that you would use to pray or to like, it's like a spiritual effigy of sorts,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So you bring in shadow and it's like, well, what's, the shadow like behind the talisman, that's like the evil side of things, or like, you know, just so it like makes you think. It's like, well, it's a good thing, but then it's also like, what about the other side? And then Shadow Talisman to me just did not roll off the tongue well at all. I was like, for some reason there just looks like something not right. And I remember
Something missing.
so there's something missing in the middle. And so I remember I was at the gym, you know, I was like dead tired, and I was like, wait a minute, guys. Shadow of the Talisman.
Oh.
And even then, when I said it at first, it didn't land super well. But I think there, like everything else we tried, just wasn't working. So we were like, you know what, Shadow of the Talisman, it works, and it works well enough.
Let me tell you from experience, a lot of creative juices that hit you while you're working out. So
It does.
I started taking it's funny because I had to start taking a pad with me for a while because something would hit me while I'm working out. I'm like, let me write that down. So some guy was there going, oh man, said, what you how you progressing? I said, what are you talking about? He said, "What?" I said, "What you're writing down? Your progressions?" I said, "No, man. This is why I hit creative juices. I'm just writing shit down." I was like, "Hell, I lift about the same thing every week. I don't care about this shit, man." So,
You're like, whatever.
I'm at the point I don't compete. I'm just trying to be tone, and before I don't want to get 50 and be the guy that's they got the dicky do, your belly stick out further than your dicky do, so.
Did you do powerlifting or?
No, I was more like when I met my wife, I was 222, I think, and 8% body fat when I met her.
Ooh.
So I was pretty ripped. And that's,
Yeah.
honestly, I could go on with that story, but that's kind of what got me into wrestling. Well, not that really. So technically, the reason I was working out was I was trying out for a minor league football team in Florida called the West Palm Beach Raiders, and then I got sidetracked with a guy pushing wrestling on me before I got to the tryouts. So that's kind of how that went. So, I never made it to the tryouts.
Well, I've actually never even heard that story till just
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
There
really?
you go.
Actually, it's funny because I still have that guy's business card somewhere in his house. It's funny.
Never too late.
Yeah, no.
That's it. You can
I'm
always
pushing
go.
50, man. I'm not going to no football.
What are you
now.
talking about?
Yeah.
Come on.
I might go
Yeah,
back in the
yeah,
ring a
that's-
time or two, but nah.
Yeah, no,
that's
you
like-
actually never told me that story. I'm just now hearing that.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, I'm actually interviewing you now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, well, that's why. And that's why,
Yeah.
because like a lot of people have reached out to me about trying to get a time together. And we just haven't clicked with doing a podcast, interviewing me for their wrestling podcast. And that's one reason I didn't do a wrestling podcast because so many of my friends are doing them. So I'm just like, well,
Yeah,
what am
so
I
you
going to
do
give
something
that's
different.
different? So I'm just like, so when I first got into podcasting, I was podcasting with a friend of mine I met on set of a movie. And she was like, hey, I've been spitting around this idea, and I know me and you had a lot in common when we were talking on set. She said, I wonder if you'd be interested. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So what do you want to, and we kind of, was shooting around ideas about what to do. And it was kind of like an everything podcast. It wasn't like, it was like, what's going on in the world, political, sports.
Wow.
I mean, it was always something. It was never like one dimensional. So,
Yeah.
and then that got me my feet wet in it. And then Chris has a degree or I think you got a degree or was pursuing a degree in broadcasting.
Well, I was pursuing a degree in broadcasting.
Right.
As far as it got was my associates in mass communications. That's where that trail went cold.
So when we were talking about it at the fire, we've told this story on here 100 times, but we heard an Onslaught song and we never heard of Onslaught before. And, they've been out since 1980. This was 35 years later. We never heard of them. Like, where in the hell were we at? Well, because they weren't mainstream media for radio stations or anything like that. So you didn't hear about them unless you were living in, the area they were from, UK. So, and I think that's what's not fair to me. A lot of like, I love interviewing the American bands here because we don't do it a lot. So I do like to kind of keep my foot in the door in my own country,
Yeah.
But I do feel like that we need more eyes on those guys over there because, man, there are some bands that are putting out some quality music over there that I'm sure nobody over here has ever heard of because it's across the pond. So
it's hard to get exposure, if you're not
exactly, yeah. And you got to think is like, we were talking about this. I was going to bring this up earlier because, you talk about finding bass guitarists or something like that. Well, you probably better have a better chance of doing that here in the States than you would in like Finland or Norway or somewhere. Because I mean, that's not a big place. I mean, if you got a couple, 400,000 people living there, chances are, 2,000 of them don't play guitar. So I mean, so,
Yeah.
so it's definitely a little bit better here, I think. But but yeah,
All
so.
right. One of the other notes, getting back to the album here, one of the other notes that I made is, I know Mike is the vocalist. We've talked about that already, but there's a couple of songs that made me wonder. There's a couple of songs that made me wonder. Does anybody help with any backing vocals on any of this stuff, or is it just all him? Okay,
It's me.
you are.
Well, so far it's been me. Zach, we're working with Zach to get him doing backup vocals too. Now on the album, there actually is only one spot where I do backup vocals.
Okay.
The rest of it is pretty much all Mike.
Just-
And the
okay.
only time I got brought in to do it, because I do it live for like bits and pieces, like the chant for Rise, I do it live,
Sure, yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. But the only time they asked me to do it in studio was the last. I think it was like one of the last days of vocal tracking on So Below, and as you probably listened to, that last scream is very, very heavily stacked and very long,
Mhm.
and so Mike has a phenomenal voice, but he and this is no discredit to him, but he doesn't really get low with his screams. He's
Mhm.
missing like the super guttural like death metal thing that you have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, turns out I was learning how to do that at the time, and so when we were in studio, and Mike was like tracking it a bunch, Mark turned to me, because we were in a different room, because Mike was in a vocal booth, and he was like, "Hey, you know how to do vocals?" And I was like, "Well, like maybe." And he's like, "Why don't you get in there? Because Mike needs a break getting this." And I was like, "Okay, okay." So we get in there, and I did do like, so if you listen to So Below, that last So Below,
Hmm.
the very low guttural scream that you hear on that is actually me, and that is the only.
okay.
It's only one
Oh, okay.
layer, and that is the only backup vocal, quote unquote, we had outside of the chants, obviously.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was wondering if there was anyone who was doing backup, or if it was more layering stuff. Because I'm sure with obviously when you do the layering of one singer, then someone has to do it live. So that's one of the things I was wondering. And it's another thing that you brought up that I actually made a note of is talking about how long that scream is held.
Mhm.
I was impressed at how many times that actually showed up on the album and how long some of those screams are held. I was like,
Yep.
holy shit. I mean, how do you, because I mean, to have the capability of hitting it is one thing. For me to be able to hold it like that,
Yep.
and because I mean, I've brought this up on a couple of interviews before. One of the things for me that's a delicate balance that sometimes gets misused is vibrato. And when I hear it being abused, I can't hear anything else. So, and that's another thing one of the things that I like about this is I didn't even really hear it that much at all, which is cool. And you can't even really do vibrato when you're doing. I mean, you kind of can, I guess, but
It's tough.
it's tough to do when you're doing something that aggressive. But to be able to hit it and then hold it like he does, especially
Yeah,
the
it's
amount
pretty
of
impressive.
times that he did it. At one point, I was like, "Holy!" I mean,
Yeah.
Honey shots. That's the
let's see.
secret.
Honey
I-
shots and green tea were his best
Yeah.
friend.
So I mean, there was. Let's see. I made a note of a note of
Just
it.
write them all
on-
down at the times.
No, not all the times. But I mean, the first time that I noticed it on was on What Is Real, and then
Chris gonna come out at 119 and what is
no,
wrong?
I well,
He actually held it out for 32 seconds.
So
You guys
it's
know
funny.
what-
It's funny this came up because when he first started doing his reviews, he was doing stuff like that. He's like, man, these are getting long. I'm like, yeah, because you're putting all that content in there that
Yeah.
You probably don't need,
No,
brother. It's like
No, well, that's the thing is I wanted to make that in our very first episode.
right.
I was like, I want to make sure we have enough content to have a show, and I was
Yep.
going track by track by track, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to do
Yeah.
quite,
Made me
quite-
feel, it made me
quite
feel
so.
bad because I'm like got a paragraph like that, you know. Like,
Yeah, so I was like, all right.
I think the
Maybe
biggest thing in mine was the people in the band, you know.
Yeah, so I was like,
Right.
so I was like, maybe I don't need to be so comprehensive, but I mean, I did make it, on what I did make a note of the tempo change around the 3-minute mark on What Is Real that led to the buildup of the solo, and then the breakdown at 3 minutes and 25 seconds on So Below. I mean, it was so good. I was like, all right, that was at 3:25, and that was a hell of a breakdown. I'm gonna write that down, But so I didn't do that too much. I don't think. Maybe I
No,
did. I don't know. I
only got
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like to me, if it was me, I would appreciate the detail. But
No, we do. That's why I was asking. Is I was like, if you took the time to write that down, I would be thoroughly impressed. I'd feel ultra.
The speaking of detail, the one it's probably minute, but the little at the very end of Curse, that little strum right at the end, right before the fucking song ends, I was like, that was badass. Just that little ring right there, right there.
It just added to it. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. It just put the stamp on it as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So I mean, of course I'm a detail guy, just by just in my real everyday life anyway. But I mean, so just to hear that, okay, the song is over. Bring, oh shit.
And I'm kind of opposite because I was a risk management and data analysis, so I was
same here. I'm a data analyst.
Oh, cool, yeah. So I was doing detail all the time, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just gonna base this thing. I already do too much detail.
Yeah.
But especially when because. You miss something that didn't get on a truck or anything. It's like this big bridge you got to write, and it's like, oh man, such a miss. But yeah. So one thing I was going to give Kyle his props before we get too far along. I did think the drumming kind of stood out to me on the Outlaw track. I thought that was one of the more intense drummings that I heard out of all of it. So
thank you. Yeah, that was the very first song we wrote. So that had some vigor in me when we were writing that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Caught you early. Caught
him before the 9 and 8 minute. Caught him before the 9 and 8 minute tracks. That's what. That's great. So I'm gonna share my screen here because I know we always like to talk about this too. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
I knew we'd be getting to that. So we always do.
Yeah.
So.
I'm intrigued now.
Right.
So.
There we
I'm
go.
gonna spotlight this bad.
Oh,
boy.
okay, yep.
So
Wow,
we
look at
gotta
that.
we gotta talk about this badass album cover, dude. Like
Beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, and like when we was talking about the As Above, So Below, I think that's kind of like one of the things when I seen the album cover and then I heard everything, I was visualizing it probably just like that. Because I mean, As Above could be, Walking the Earth as well if you're talking about the, Down Under. So, but,
Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
Down under.
Hey, Jason, do us all a favor real quick so we can see the detail on the underside of the.
Oh, my
the
bad.
So
Yeah,
Below.
let me
flip it.
real
Keep
quick.
that banner down, or you could flip it. Yeah, if you could mirror it too, that'd be.
We did intentionally make it so you could flip it, and it's I mean outside of our name, but
Oh, okay.
I was about to say, there's no way you did that with the name too.
no.
That would have been. I mean, if you would have been able to do that with the name both upside and down, that would have been artistic genius.
Right. Had it holographed or something?
We aren't that
Yeah,
smart.
right. Well, I wouldn't say smart. There's a fine line you draw between like how artistic do you get versus like how palatable is it.
Right.
Well, that's
Like,
that's
and So like even with the upside down So Below text, we were very like back and forth on it because it's like, well, we want people to be able to like easily read it, and like you can get that it's So Below, but like if it was upright, it'd be a little easier to suggests. But it's so we had to really draw a fine line between like figuring out how to represent the album as a whole and the story well, how to visualize and convey the themes on the album cover, so that way when you look at it, you go like, oh, I know pretty much almost exactly what this is going to tackle. It's going to,
Right.
it's obviously going to be themes of duality, because I mean, it's
Exactly.
it's right there, So we spent a lot of time. That, as with everything we've done at this point, Jesus, we've spent like painstaking amounts of effort trying to tailor everything.
Color wise, too. I know when we write
Oh, I love the
music,
colors. Yeah.
I don't know if it's weird, if it's just me, but when I hear a song, the color's always associated with this. When we finish the album, I think me and a lot of the other guys agreed it's a very red album. It's angry, it's fearsome, it's dark. So when we talked to the artist that did this, his name is Mark Erskine. He's based over in Europe. Phenomenal job, but we gave him like this template
so
sheet.
Good.
And we gave him like a color palette. We're like, hey, like when you do this, make sure these colors are in there. Everything else, creative liberty. And he did an incredible job. I think this was like the second or third draft, Eli, of the album cover. Like
he almost nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, which is really a hallmark of a good artist. You give them a vision, and then like first, second, third try, they're like, I got it. I know exactly what you want.
What I love about it, obviously, the duality is there, like you were talking about, Eli. But what I love about it is the symmetry. The symmetry is top notch, because even looking at the so below part, which not for nothing, but if you would have put the so below upright, I don't think it would have worked. I don't think it would have worked as well. I think it's perfect with it upside down the way it is as we're looking at it right now. But what I love about it is the buildings are completely symmetrical from top to bottom, even though they're in ruins at the bottom. But what I also like is, and I can never remember which is which, but the stalactites, I can never remember which is which. They draw your eye. They also draw your eye down. The stalactites, everything like on the top part, the church. Is that a church? Well, that clock tower anyway. The clock tower draws your eye up, and it also draws your eye down. Everything directs the eye where it's supposed to, and I like it, because even in the as above, the sun is coming up. In the so below, the fire is going this way because fire always burns up, but in this instance, it's burning down. Because it's it's the inverse. So everything is drawing your eye up. That's supposed to draw it up. Everything's drawing your eye down. That's supposed to draw it down. It's the name of the band is perfectly in the center. It breaks everything up. So the symmetry to me is also super well done, because you start right in the middle with the name of the band. You look up, you get the one part of the story. You look down, you get the other part of the story. And like you say, I know what one half of the album is probably going to talk about. I know what the other half of the album is going to talk about. So everything is, I was going to say, I mean, it's just cut and dry for the most part. Even though the album isn't structured that way, there is a little bit more of a linear flow to the album. We talked about that in the beginning of the show, but the way the story is represented here is perfect.
Yeah. And add to that too, I think EY, you really drove home the fact that when we first see an album cover, we wanted the viewer's eyes to be just drawn towards the middle. And then like you were saying, then everything else in the artwork kind of pulls you out. So, it's her debut album. What band is this? Boom. You see
right, exactly.
You got to know.
And then you get the rest of the story. So that was very important to us, to make sure that, just quick glance, you got all the information you needed like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle was very big on the symmetry too. Kyle is a huge symmetry guy. So he was like, it has to be like perfect down to like quadrants,
Yeah, when we sent in the rough draft to the artist, I remember doing this god-awful sketch of, like, the building skyline. I was like, hey, pretend these are buildings here, but, like, make sure that, they're symmetrically opposite. And he did a great job. So, props to him.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. But funnily enough, fun fact, I don't think we've ever talked about this before outside of the band, but the name and the characters are not actually
Oh,
centered
you weren't
perfectly.
supposed to say that.
Well, it's a fun fact.
It
So
is.
it like because I do a lot of the social media stuff and a lot of like image editing in house. So like I was like, oh, it's like clearly it's got it like the name's perfectly on the horizontal. You know, the characters line up perfectly with nope, they're slightly up and to the left
Yep.
Yep.
by just a smidgen.
Yeah.
Which I noticed that and I was like, oh, that's gonna drive me wild now.
Oh, I was about to say, why did you have to tell me that?
Yeah.
Because it's a fun fact.
Wow.
We haven't said it anywhere else. It's fun. It still looks good enough, you know.
No, I
from a
mean
distance.
I mean, even knowing it now, I'm like, I can't even tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but like
Yeah, I
it's
can't even tell.
it's maybe
Eli,
by
can
like
you
5
share the,
pixels.
Oh Jesus, that's like nothing.
Yeah. Right.
It
Eli,
matters.
do we share the other fun fact or no? Because no one's noticed it yet. I haven't told anyone either. You know what I'm
Well, I
talking
feel like
about?
we're in the spirit of revealing things, so go for it.
I'm not going to say what it is,
Oh,
but
okay.
look at the album cover and look at the clock tower. There's a very significant difference between above and below. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll let whoever's watching or you guys figure it out. But I know that's one of my favorite details that
Like
no one's noticed yet.
Is it the sheriff's sign? Or? I don't see it on the bottom.
Well, I mean that's a sign for a bank actually, but
Yeah, it's,
Well, no,
it's
there's
the
a
actual
spirit-
clock tower.
Well, there's a
time.
okay.
Yeah, the actual
Oh,
clock.
up to the top. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I had a bigger picture of it.
The time different.
So I guess I'll say it since you can't really see it.
Yeah, I can't.
So,
Yeah.
I can't really see it in great detail, but
the upper portion represents when sundown happens when this album was released, roughly,
Oh, okay.
and then the bottom portion is 333, which is a very religious, I don't know, spiritual number. It represents darkness and whatnot. So the time's different between above and below.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
That's what I thought. I was trying to like see if that was because I was like, oh, that's like 8:30 there.
Yep.
yeah. I still can't.
And that's like 3:30. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's hard to
too.
pick out on a.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see, but it's those fine details we like.
Again,
that's another cool thing though.
Yeah, that is
makes
still
it unique. Yeah.
that is still a cool Easter egg kind of thing. I do like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's badass.
I think there's some talismans spread out throughout the artwork.
The Outlaw
too. I know the
definitely has
Outlaw
one on
has
his hat. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, see that actually is another thing that we hadn't talked about yet. You guys actually have a logo per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys.
It was
Yeah, so
Go for it, guys.
going back to the name, I guess when Eli came up with the Shadow of the Talisman, I like the idea because right when he said that, I pictured having whatever that talisman shape may be with shadow and talisman kind of bordering it top to bottom. And then our guitarist Zach, he did some digital art back in high school. So I think after we came up with the name, I don't know, like 2 days later, he gave us the drawing of the talisman itself, and then I whipped it up in a software, and then that's where the logo came from with the eye and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the logo is. We were always very adamant about having a logo too, because not a lot of, at least not nowadays. It's hard to, at least like in the local scene. A lot of bands don't have. It's just text. Like it's just a band name,
Right.
which it works and it's good. But there's something to be said about a central image to your band / your brand, even because as people in a band, you are building a brand whether you like it or not, and having something unique that maybe it's not like super visually interesting, but it's unique enough to where like you look at that and you go, oh, I don't even have to know the name. Like if you just see the eye, through enough time, it's like, oh, that's just Shadow of the Talisman. And then what's better with that is like the way I was thinking about it is like you could put that anywhere. Like you don't even have to put your name on things. Like just put the eye. And it's like
right.
There's Shadow of the Talisman.
And you guys have done that with a lot of your merchandise too. Especially on the hats. You got a couple of
that's my favorite, putting that on a hat, dude.
Yeah, I mean it looks great. Even on the beanie, it looks good embroidered on that too. So
yeah. Oh, I need to get a beanie. I've been meaning to buy more of her merch, but like, it's just one of those things where like we sell it and then it's like, oh well, it's gone.
Jason,
Yeah.
are you trying to pull up that logo by chance?
So I got it on my phone, but I didn't save it to because I was doing all these stories from my phone. But I think it was in one of the stories.
Okay. Well, the reason
I got it right here. There it is.
okay, good. Okay.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to see it though because it's on Encyclopedia. Oh, there it is. Never mind. I see it. I see it now. So.
Oh yeah, our page on Encyclopedia Metal.
Is Encyclopedia Metalheads back up?
No. I don't know. I didn't
okay.
try it. I was just.
I gave up on
just,
it.
Yeah. Let me.
I'll grab my shirt real quick for the logo.
I was gonna say I got the hat. I'll go bust it out real quick.
Let me do this.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because right now no one can see any of us.
Yeah, it's just
What?
It's a beautiful little logo.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened there?
I don't know. Like when you stop sharing the screen, for the artwork, it just went back.
Oh, because they were.
There we go.
And we're back. Look at that.
It was spotlighted. That's why I spotlighted that, and it takes
there we
over.
go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because I thought maybe you were just taking a second to pull up the logo. Because I was like, all right, none of us are on the screen right now.
It's the Shadows of the Talisman talking.
It's clever.
That's right.
Let's see.
Let me ask this while we're doing that. Talking about Mike's like kind of vocal background. You were talking about how he was in a southern rock band, right?
Yep.
Okay. Is that why there's kind of a little bit of a taste of country on track 5 and 6? Is that where that comes from? No? Okay.
It's actually from Zach.
Okay.
Oh, wow,
all right.
Yeah, so Zach was a big Guns N' Roses guy. He's not super into country, but I think out of all of us, he listens to it the most. It's funny because he's not even here to tell the story, so I guess I could share it now. When we were writing stuff for the album and we were kind of like generating ideas and stuff, Zach, we have a really nasty habit of like sitting outside of practice after we're done for like hours just talking, like not even in a house, just like next to our cars.
They were freezing
we'll stand out there
outside in the rain.
Seriously, it's a bad habit. But I remember it was Kyle, Zach, and I. We were just chilling outside of practice, and Zach's like, I have this idea, and he's like, I was gonna post it on, my social media so he can, start doing his own thing. And we were like, oh, like what is it? Just like kind of curious offhand, and it was the curse, the thing. And he was like, yeah, I just figured we would never use it for a thrash metal band. And we were like, no, hold on, we're gonna use it. Yep. So a lot of the country influence came from Zach and a little bit of his hard rock / southern rock country background.
Yeah. Nice.
And then him and Mike really just went off with that. So I know Mike came in with the chorus, and he had all the chords and like the rhythm and whatnot. And then that's pretty much how the song was made.
Kyle and I barely had to touch it.
Yeah, that was the easiest song for me to write.
Yeah,
outside of the
that's great.
What being a drummer, time's my big thing. But like, I want to say, I think it was the chorus has like 17 bars in it or something weird. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not.
But like multiples of four.
Four.
Yeah, multiples of 4 is like where you want to be, and for some reason, Curse has like 17 measures for like its chorus, and it kills me.
Yeah, it's also like in some spots, it's in like very weird time signatures that for whatever reason just feel right, but they're not like 4/4.
Right.
Or any like stand. It's the wildest thing because before we went to the studio, we had to tempo map everything out so that way like we can just send him over to Mark and he'll just like make a project easy. So but we sat there and we actually tempo mapped everything out and we're like counted out everything. And yeah, we got to Cursed and we were like, why is this the hardest song to map out? And it should be the simplest you would think, but for whatever reason, there's the 17 bar chorus and there's like weird slowdowns that we do that are just like happen at points that are random but feel good,
Yeah, there's only one song on the album that doesn't have a tempo change. and that's
It's
Fiery
Fiery
Descent.
Yep.
Everything else has a tempo change. So that was just brutal map out because you don't want to record without a clip. And it
Yeah.
was, I just remember the days we spent. It's like, well, this transition doesn't feel right, especially me. Because it's like
Yeah.
you're bumping stuff up and down like 1, 2 BPM just to make sure it hit that perfect feel.
Hmm.
We got to
So
do that again soon, Eli.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
It's even worse now, though. Not to give anything away, but we
Yeah.
can't keep straight time for the life of us.
No.
so is this the emblem we were referring to here?
Yep,
Yes.
correct.
Well,
Okay.
more specifically the I
Just
portion
the
of
eye
it, but
part. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
the text is also, I guess, we use that a lot in our branding.
Okay,
Yep.
So
cool.
And I mean, and again, I mean, of course, you have the symbolism of it, but then at the same time, you still have something that's perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That's
So that did a great job getting that concept. And I guess another fun fact that's going to throw all the digital artists out there, that I logo, the first rendition of it, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I actually drew it up in CAD and made a 3D model of it and then outlined that model and sent a screenshot to the guys so you all like the editing with. And
Ah,
the most
Converting that to a
backwards
PNG
way
was
to get
not
a
fun.
logo.
man, I
Yeah,
haven't.
because Kyle said that to us, and we were like, "Dude, that's a great, like, it's awesome." But then I was like, "Wait, we need like a PNG so we can put it on things." And then it's like, well, I can't just easily do that because it's a CAD file. Like what?
Yeah, man, shit. I haven't done
That's-
CAD since high school. Good lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The one that we have in our background right here was one that I generated AI just to play around with AI at one point, and it
It's
come
a
out.
forbidden word around here. You can't
Oh,
say
I
that.
know,
Right?
man.
People get up in arms.
But that
Oh,
is cool.
yeah.
That is
What?
freaking
So,
cool.
what did you? Did you 3D print that,
We
Kyle?
did.
Yep.
Oh,
We 3D
nice,
printed a bunch of them and sold them out.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
that's
This
awesome.
is a custom made test one. It's the only red one out there. But yeah, we got
Yeah,
a
the
bunch
rest
of
of them are
little
white and black.
necklaces.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you want to buy one, come to our shows. You get cool.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I probably would pick one of those up. Well, I guess speaking of shows, I mean, hold on a second.
Well, they got stuff coming up because we had to work around it. So.
No, that's true.
More so the interviews than the
Originally.
shows.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, we had a bunch of shows booked out that were up in the air, and then just things happen scheduling, because like having 5 guys in a band, it's not easy to find like there's a weekend that we're all free, and it's like, well,
That's
we're
true.
not until September, so
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Now, I don't know. Now, this is one of those. This is like one of those weird things. Like Jason can probably attest to it because like we talk about wrestling and someone's like, "Hey, do you know this guy?" It's like out of how many wrestlers there are, do you think I know them all?
So the
Now,
funny thing that is they ask me that, and I'm just like, they'll say, "Oh, do you know, Terry?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck is Terry?"
yeah,
yeah, who's
well, yeah,
who's that
Terry,
guy?
yeah,
They're like,
Terry,
Hulk Hogan, dude. I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay. Well, I know Hulk Hogan. I don't know who the fuck Terry is. I don't know him by the Terry."
You're like, oh, okay.
Like,
But,
because 90% of the time people think, "Oh, we all just buddy buddy." But no, when we talk to the guy that we're wrestling that night, and we work the match out, and that's the only person you probably talk to for half the day, and then you may get 30 minutes to talk to somebody outside of that, and then
Right.
probably never their real name probably never comes up in any of the conversations. You're just talking, to the guy as you know him in his persona. So,
Yeah.
and I never ask anybody their real name. I'm like, oh,
it doesn't matter.
I don't care. It's but
Yeah,
yeah.
so-
Wait, Spiff. What a lame name that is to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the reason why I bring that up, that I brought up that hypothetical, is because I can't remember when it was. I know it was probably a couple years ago at this point, but we interviewed another band from up there from Livonia, and I'm originally from Ann Arbor, but
Oh,
so I was born in Ann Arbor. But we interviewed a band from Livonia a couple years ago, and Finality is the name of that band. They're from Livonia, and so I didn't know. I was kind of wondering, like, when you guys are able to get out, because I know you guys are independent, so you guys are kind of doing. I assume a lot of this stuff kind of like you said, as you have time, kind of on your own. So how is it that you guys are, putting shows together when you guys are able to actually get out?
A lot of word of mouth. A lot of just honestly, it boils down to just knowing people. I
Okay.
made it a point to like because we got lucky with our like first big show at this place called the Diesel out in I think it's New Baltimore / Chesterfield.
Oh
Chesterfield.
my God.
We
I used to have an aunt and uncle that lived in New Baltimore.
yeah, it's a
Jesus.
fun little area. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we messaged the owner. We emailed him like just straight up. It was like, hey, if you have any shows, we're an up and coming band. He was like, oh, we got this and this and this. And it really just kind of boiled like it just was like one thing after the other. You go play that show, and then you meet the owner actually face to face, and then you meet these people in these bands, and then those people in those bands know these guys, so you talk to those guys. And
Okay.
I made it a point because surprisingly, the Michigan metal scene is thriving, but not like huge. I
Mm-hmm.
guess is the word. Like it's a great scene. Love the people in it. Love a lot of the bands.
Yeah.
But you can figure out who's who like pretty quickly. I made it a point to like sit there and be like, I'm just gonna go to shows. I'm just gonna talk to people because I mean like it doesn't matter. You just go to a show and you're like, hey, I loved your set. I'm in this band. They're like, oh, I've heard of I saw you guys were playing a show. Like and then just it's immediate like connection.
Yeah.
There's
So
also
it's
there's also a friend of the shows from way back. We've actually met these guys and then seen them live. They're from Philly? Is Eyes of the Living. They're a thrash metal band as well. So I mean, if you guys want to hook, they're really cool guys, man. I'm sure if you guys could sync up something
yeah.
to play together, I'm sure they would be all on board for that. So
Yeah.
We would
I'll
love to.
I'll kind of forward the information that we have as far as finality goes. I'll kind of send that over to you guys because a couple of the guys in finality used to be in Battlecross. So
Okay.
yeah, so
oh yeah, yeah,
a
that's right.
little bit of another Michigan band. So like I say, Flint and Livonia, not too far apart, but
Mhm.
I live in
and-
Wixom right now. Slovenia's right down the corner.
right, yeah. So yeah, you are close. So you know so probably within an hour of each other, depending on traffic on 75 from one day to the next. But so,
Yeah.
Went 8 miles, not broke
Remember
down.
the pain.
Right.
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, and they're, Finality, they're an independent band too. So I mean, like if like the stars were to align or whatever, and you guys could, I mean, hell, if even if you guys could talk and at some point, maybe put your heads together, who knows? But I mean,
Yeah.
one of those things where we try to look out for each other the best we can. So,
Yeah.
but I wasn't, but like I said at the beginning of the thing is like I wasn't going under the assumption that hey, they're from Michigan, you guys are from Michigan, you must know each other. So I mean, but I figure at some point, like maybe. Like I say, we send some information over. You guys may be able to break the ice somehow because I know you guys have some shows coming up. End of next month. You guys got that music
Mhm.
festival down there in
Oh,
Corktown. I don't know what they have going on, Finality or anything, but who knows when they may be if you guys are in Flint, Jason's got the shirt on. Who knows if Finality
Machine
may
shop,
be able
yeah.
to come up to the machine shop. I mean, you guys may be able to cross paths up there. Who knows?
Right.
I still think that's one of the coolest venues I've ever been in, dude. I don't even. I think I would have paid admission to walk in there and just look at the walls. I wouldn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
have to hear anybody play, because I mean there is so much history on that wall, dude. Just like
Yeah.
unreal of some of the bands
Yeah,
that are on there that's played in that venue.
Incredible
There's definitely-
opportunity to play there last October. We opened up for Walls of Jericho, and
Oh,
for
nice.
out of all the venues we played at, that's my favorite. With staff,
I think it was all of our favorites.
sound quality. It was just incredible there.
It was really a step above from everything we played at. They're like actual professionals out there. It was insane.
Yeah, the hanging motorbike got me. That's the one. That's the part that got me. I was like, man, this is so cool. It's just hanging here. So, very cool venue, man. I was like, when we went up there, I was like, man, we gotta catch a show. I don't care who's there. We just gotta catch a show there. And luckily, L.A. Guns was playing, and I was like, I grew up in the '80s, so I'm just like, yeah, we'll go. I hadn't seen them
There's
since like
always
the
something
'90s. So.
good going through the shop.
Oh
I
yeah,
know
Nonpoint
Point
was just
he
there
was there like every other
weeks ago. So.
Friday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man, I'm sure that area is booming with music. I mean,
Oh, it is.
they ain't got much else going on in Flint, but I mean, they definitely got a music
Well,
scene there.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I I hope Flint has a resurgence at some point. I really do. It's kind of,
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
sad riding through there and seeing all
yeah,
those like factories closed down
Yeah.
and stuff. It was man, it was rough.
yeah. He
That's not a.
when he was, it was last year you went up there, right, Jason?
It was I
Was it
want to
last
say it
year?
was back in August.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he
Yeah,
was
it
he was
was.
because he was telling me he was getting ready to go up there because he knows I'm from up around there,
Right.
but I said. And he was telling me he was going to go to that show. I was like, "All right, let me give you a word of advice." I said,
Yeah.
Stop for gas.
I said,
Go
I said,
north.
yeah. I said, yeah. I said, make sure when you get there, you go to the venue. When you get done, go back to your car, get back on 75, and head. So
Yeah. Get out of there.
Get the
yeah.
hell
So
out of
I hate that it's got to be that way because I remember because I'm not from Flint, of course, but
Mhm.
Well, it
I remember.
flourished at one time. So I mean,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the funny thing is, back when I was still living up there, I mean, my dad worked for General Motors. He's a retiree, and he had friends that lived up in that area. So I mean, I remember going up there as a kid and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
you know. It wasn't like, of course, I'm in my mid 40s now. So I'm talking about maybe when I was like 10, 12 years old before I moved down here. So, but I remember, of course, obviously that's at this point you're talking about 3 decades ago, but I remember being able to, not feeling that way. And it sucks that the city feels like that now. It really is a
Yeah.
shame. So I kind of hope there's a point to where they make it back, because now the only thing that people outside of Michigan think of is Flint, Michigan, shitty
Dirty
water,
water.
and it's like, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
very,
but you can
very
also
bad
blame that
thing.
on Ohio. You said we got that from Ohio though.
Well, yeah,
Yeah. But everybody remembers Flint though.
yeah. So everybody, so unfortunately, everybody outside of Michigan knows Flint because of the water crisis
Yeah,
now. So
that's just
so
another
that
reason
it
for you guys.
sucks.
That's just another reason for you guys that hate Ohio. So
No,
Yeah. No. Fair
and
enough.
there are many. So I mean, yeah, there are many.
There's
But
there's a whole like 3 mile long list.
yeah,
yeah.
there are
So I
many.
don't know how. I don't know if there's been any improvements because I haven't been to Ohio. I went to the Sonic Temple Festival up there in 2019, I think, and like I know at least 30 miles of that road felt like I was on the railroad tracks.
That's
Jesus
all
Christ,
Ohio.
man!
Yeah. The roads are not good out here.
I'm like
No, they're not.
Christ.
They're always under construction too. That's the best part.
Yeah.
They always
Yeah, I
are
know.
fixing them, but they're
Yeah,
never fixed.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I always tell everybody because being from Ann Arbor, I-94 runs right through it. So
Brutal.
I always tell everybody what they do is they start on 94 in Detroit and they go all the way west across until they get to Lake Michigan. And by the time they finish, they have to go back to Detroit and start all over
Yep.
and just do 94
Yep.
all over again.
It's just a never-ending cycle.
It
Bad
never
roads.
ends.
Yeah,
Never
It
ends.
never,
crazy.
yeah, it never ends. The roads are garbage up there.
Gotta love
So,
it.
And they
well,
just
that's
don't
well.
have
See, that's well.
the the right
See,
mix, I guess.
yeah, well, the funny thing is, because we've been talking about tempo and timing and everything. So
Hmm.
it's funny because when I come up into Michigan to head home, I come up through Ohio because unfortunately it is the best way, especially going to the southeastern part of the state. So I take US 23 where it splits off from 75 south of Toledo.
Mhm.
So I take 23 and take it up in Ann Arbor. And the funny thing is right there where the state line is, right there in Sylvania off of 23, I could probably drive that little segment with my eyes closed, and I would know by the sound of my tires on the road
Yep.
when I crossed over the state line into Michigan, because
Yep.
because you get that
Kind of like,
bum 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 bum
kind of like
bum.
going,
Classic. It's my favorite.
Yeah, so you get
going from here to Alabama. It's like,
right, so you get that Michigan beat of the road of your
Yep.
tires
yeah,
on the road on 23. That's the first thing. It's like, well, if I would have had my eyes closed, I would have known we crossed into Michigan. So
My favorite is when those bumps line up with whatever song you're listening to. Then it's like,
that happens. It does. It
it's
absolutely
extra
happens.
feedback. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it happens.
yeah. So that's the reason they don't put CD players in cars anymore because they just be
Yeah.
skipping the whole time.
Yeah, probably
bad.
part of it. But
that's why everything's Bluetooth now.
yeah, but it is crazy that the roads in Michigan, they do have their own tempo. They really do.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's great. Well, I want to say this: like I've traveled a lot in the last few years, but I think like I went to Mackinac Island and we drove up through there. We went. I don't remember what the highway was up through there, but like the last one that you traveled on before you get into to uh, to Mackinac Island there.
That's 75.
It's
Yeah,
75.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't remember
75.
what it was, but I know
Yeah,
like that part like was so like beautiful to me. Like I was looking. There's probably like 15, 20 cars on the roads. It was nice. I was like,
oh yeah.
and then it was funny because they were doing something on the road before I got there, and it said merge in 1 mile, and it was like I just kept noticing like everybody was like as soon as they seen the sign, merged, merged, and like traffic never stopped. And I said, I wished people in Tennessee could get this fucking concept down. It's like I'm gonna ride this thing until I hit the fucking cone, and then I'm gonna try to get over. Like these people are crazy, dude. Like I mean, how the hell?
Well, just wait till you find Detroit drivers. They're another
They
breed.
were bad. That's where we were at last time. Was in Detroit because my wife was at. She works for Amazon and she was at the warehouse in Detroit.
Right
which
there
was
off
great.
8 Mile.
Yeah, right. Well, the next one up. Yeah, next
Yeah.
up. Yeah, but it was crazy because like that's the only place that we've been to, and I worked there too for a while, so we had been to a lot of the other sites, and that's the only one we've been to where it was actually caged in. Like you had to go through,
Yeah.
you had to go through. Show a badge to get in. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man! What have they done got us into?
Yeah,
It's steel cage all the way around it with
Yeah.
wire and barbed wire. I'm like, damn.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
my
I was at
experience.
Flint for a few years. I just found out recently, like 2 months after I left, they added rotary doors at the place, so you can't
Yeah.
get in. Let's have a badge and you automatically open.
Right.
Jeez, cool. I was gonna miss
Fun.
you.
It's fun.
Yeah, the funny thing is Detroit has come a long way, but it's still Detroit.
It still has a lot
of-
It's still Detroit.
It's still Detroit.
It's still
Yeah.
Detroit.
Avoid it.
I was actually up there at the beginning of the year. I went up there because my mom and my dad and my sister live up in Bay City now, but we're all originally from Ann Arbor. My last two grandparents are still living in Ann Arbor. My aunt lives there, but I mean I've got an aunt and uncle in Grand Rapids. My mom and dad, my sister live in Bay City. I've got an uncle that lives in Canton. So I mean I've got an aunt and uncle that live in Southfield. So I've still got family all over the place up there.
Mhm.
So I was up there at the beginning of the year. I went after Christmas to kind of, beat all the holiday traffic and this, that, and the other thing. And, one day while we were up there, we actually, we drove downtown to catch a Wings game, and we parked right downtown, right there off of Woodard, right there by Little Caesars Arena. And it had been a few years since I had been back. And the last time I was there, they were actually tearing down Joe Louis Arena. So it had been a few years, and so the game at the beginning of the year was the first time I got to go to Little Caesars. But I was still impressed with that whole Woodward Avenue area leading into downtown and all that stuff. How you got Ford Field, the Fox Theater, Comerica Park, and then you got Little Caesars. So that whole area, the way it's made a comeback has been really nice. But so they're starting to make a comeback, like basically from downtown out, which is nice. But like I say, down there around 8 Mile where the Amazon place is, I mean, it's still it's still there are still
Detroit.
parts there are still parts that are still that are still Detroit. So it'll get there, but so they're working on it. But
So I want to reel this back to you guys for good.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got sidetracked so
before
hard.
we get
yeah.
Oh, it happens on this show. It happens on
Michigan.
that. We're probably more laid back. We're not trying like we got some things
Yeah.
we like to ask, but we kind of just kind of organically
Shoot,
go
yeah,
wherever it
it's just
goes,
kinda-
man.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I wanted to like circle back with the band and ask, was there like, are you guys being able to play anything live yet, or
Like
From
really
the
in terms
first
of
album or the new stuff?
so we didn't even know you had a first album, so that would be kind of interesting to hear about too. So the only thing we see available is on Spotify is like,
Yeah, there's
That
another
was my
album.
first album.
No.
As Above, So
Not
Below.
yet.
is first.
oh, okay,
Oh,
okay, gotcha,
okay.
I was
'Cause
confused me for
I-
a minute. I'm like, wait, what?
No,
I
I
thought-
thought
I
you were
thought-
referencing the new stuff we're working on.
Oh,
No. I
We've
was
been able
just
to
kind of
play everything off the debut album and just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we actually had an album debut show
Okay.
at the
Okay.
Sanctuary in Hamtramck, and that was a
Yep.
very,
Oh,
very
yeah,
good
yeah,
show. So we got to play the whole thing top to bottom. Uh, so yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we
There's no song where the crowd's like, you can tell the crowd doesn't like it. Thankfully, there's always a few people are just, oh, I love Curse and the acoustic stuff, and
Mhm.
other people obviously love the intense open of Soul Below.
mhm,
So
hmm
it's cool being able to play everything live. And
yep.
So here's
all
another
that.
question: do you guys have anything that you do live that's not on the album?
Oh yeah,
We have a few transitions here and there that are we made specifically for live, and I mean we are one of those original bands who aren't afraid to do covers, you know,
yeah.
No,
because
yeah, I mean,
I know a lot of like original bands are like, well, we got to play our originals and that's it, nothing else, and you know we've always kind of been like, well, we should spice it up a little, so we usually try to change up our set show to show, so that way it's never the same, you
hmm
know, because like if you're gonna come to see us in like January and then you want to come see us in like March, you know, if we play the same set, like you're just seeing the same show. Like maybe a
right.
different venue, sure,
Yeah.
but like what's different? You know, what's different? So we usually try to change up order, songs, covers, you know, the whole
Yeah,
nine yards. We
a
try to
little
make
something
our
different in there.
yeah, you know, we try to really tailor it so that way people are always getting something new, and
Mhm.
it always is a show rather than just like, hey, come listen to our music. You know, it's
And
like,
then
come
before long,
see
you're
us.
yeah, and then before long, you're going to be like, hey, you guys want to hear something that's not released yet? You know,
Hopefully sooner than
Hopefully
later.
soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, because that always gets a
oh
nice
yeah,
Oh yeah.
crowd pop going. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so waiting for the day when we unveil it because some of this new stuff is crazy. Oh my goodness.
So
There's
it's funny.
songs that when we start it, I'm physically stressed out because like just how the I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So get ready for that song when we debut it live.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was like, brought me back to when you was talking about that. I went and seen. I think yeah, Chris was with me at that show. We went and seen Dope and Static X. You was there, right?
No, I
You
wasn't
went at this show?
able.
Okay.
No,
I
I
can't
wasn't
remember.
able to
Like
make
we've been to
that.
so many shows, I can't keep up with who was there, who wasn't.
Yeah,
We went to,
I was supposed to go to that show, but that I fell through for me at the last minute.
gotcha. So we went to see Dope and Static X, and like Dope was SL Dope was just like, hey, I want to play a song that I hate playing live. I'm just like, why would you play it then? You know, it's like, and then he's like, he started playing, Right Round. You know, that when he did that cover.
Yeah.
He was like, well, there was something. He was explaining that there was something in the, like I guess a copyright issue or something for so many years where he couldn't do it. So that,
Check
like
it out, yeah.
with the original song, so the permissions he got to do the original song was now owned by somebody else that he didn't have permission to do it from. So he's like, okay, what do I do about this? And then he said, man, it literally took him like 2 to 3 years to like say, okay, just do it. You know, so it's like,
Years
we'll
of
just
nagging.
honor it. You know, like it's like yeah, I guess he just like just wore him down or something. I don't know, but it was kind of funny that he had to wait like 2 or 3 years to play that song live again because of
Right.
ownership issues, which was crazy. But anyway, so I mean, you look at other bands like I'm sure Killswitch does Holy Diver sometimes, and I mean, a Machine Head does Hallowed Be Thy Name. We've actually heard them do that. So I mean, it's not like the bigger bands don't do that. So I don't know why some bands are like so against doing
Yeah,
covers.
I don't know why there's kind of a I don't know. I mean, I guess they don't necessarily. I guess they don't want to be typecast as a cover band. I mean, I guess I can understand that, especially when you're trying to make a name for yourself. But
Yeah.
I figured as much. Sorry.
Wow.
well,
But I mean, they are typecast to do that. So I mean, which I don't care. I think they do great covers, but that's just me.
but I mean, like you were talking about when you're Eli, when you're trying to fill out a set. Because right now you guys have 8 songs, and when you're supposed to be playing like 12, I mean, what are those other 4 songs supposed to be?
Exactly.
So yeah. So what I mean, that being said, how do you guys decide which covers to play? I mean, is it like, all right, this week is Kyle's turn to pick the covers? I mean, is it a democracy? I mean,
It's a very democratic process. I mean, we don't like specifically vote on anything, but it's very we think about the crowd. like who's going to be there.
Yeah.
Like if we're playing a metal venue, we're not going to bust out like a southern rock song. We're going to bust
Sure.
out
Right.
some heavier stuff, and vice versa. If we're playing to like our family and friends, we're probably going to play something a little softer, so that way, you know, they can enjoy. It's really about like trying to draw the audience in and trying to get them to engage with you, because like your original songs can only do so much,
Mhm.
because people, unless they listen to it on Spotify beforehand, typically a lot of people at your shows haven't heard your stuff, right? And it's harder for people to engage with something they've never heard before,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Because they're trying to digest it for the first time.
Right.
It's tough on them. So what you do, and the reason why we do covers too, is like you give them something they know, something they
Yeah.
already like Master of Puppets. Let's say everybody's heard Master of Puppets.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Even nowadays, like all the kids heard it from Stranger Things. Like everybody's heard
Right.
Master of Puppets, right? So you do Master of Puppets. It's something they know, but it's also a way to put your spin on it. So that way you're saying, "Hey, I'm just like you. I like Master of Puppets as well, but here's what we're doing alongside of it." So you kind of blend the two worlds, and
Sure.
it acts as a way to invite the listeners in more so than your originals, which is really the only reason why we do it. I mean, outside of that, they're fun sometimes. I mean, like who doesn't love playing like Man in the Box or
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
because like we like to, if you're gonna come see us, we want you to experience the show. We want you to, take it all in. And if playing covers as an original band is the way to do it, so be it.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, I mean, you guys are early enough. You guys are early enough on in your career where, I mean, as the band goes on and evolves and the albums come out, I mean, hell, you could probably just right in the middle of the set play, "Hey, here's Walk," and then play shit off the other 2 or 3 albums you got. So I mean, this is kind of one of those things. It's like this is a for now kind of thing.
Right.
So that's kind of what's good. I mean, it doesn't have to be something that becomes a permanent staple. So
It's funny.
Personally,
It's
I wouldn't
funny.
mind.
It's funny you mentioned that from Stranger Things, because that's actually that one right there.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Eddie playing that's a friend of mine gave me that for Christmas. He's like, I've seen this and thought about you. So there you go.
For our live shows, we're pretty big sticklers on like not much dead space. So a lot of the
Yeah.
times, I know we talk about opening with the Rise. Most of the time, we do a Rise, and to pull the crowd anymore, we go into an E standard cover. So recently, it's been a Rise into Black and a Rise into Creep and Death. So like we pull the crowd in right away and say, "Hey, here we are. Here's an original. Here's a cover. Listen to us, enjoy us." So
yeah.
we like having that variety where you don't really know when the last song ended, and next thing you know, here's a cover we're playing that you wouldn't expect.
See, it's funny that you mentioned that as far as your live set goes, because you had a couple of seamless transitions on the album that I really like too. Dead with the Devil goes right into the Outlaw, and then of course the transition from As Above, So Below. I mean, especially that transition was absolutely flawless. The way you guys went from As Above to So Below, and especially the way you separated the outro and the intro to the two with just the. And I can't do gutturals, but the so bad. I can't do that
Yeah.
shit. But I mean the way that was done, it was just like right in the damn face. So I mean
That's how we wanted it to
Yeah,
be. We
so
wanted
it
it
was-
to punch you right in the gut.
it was so good. It was
When
so
we
good.
do that
Yeah,
live too, there's always so much build up that's going on. As above ends all pretty. And Mike's like, "You guys want one more?" And we all start,
All this
scoring
feedback
guitar.
going on from the guitars, or like a bunch of just noise, and you're like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. I mean, the way you guys wrote it for the album, I can only imagine how well, like you talked about, how well it translates to the stage. But it was all the transition, the way it's constructed. I don't know if you guys wrote it that way. It's like, imagine what this is going to sound like live. So I mean, when you guys were recording it, I don't know if that was some sort of back of your mind cognizant detail, but
I think
it just worked out so well.
I think Dead with the Devil and the Outlaw was like the only transition we didn't hear. Like the rise into What Is Real, we wanted that.
Yeah.
As Above and So Below, we really wanted that. But for Dead with the Devil, it was just going to be a fade out.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're in the studio, we're like, the original opening for Outlaw had this really cool whammy effect.
Uh-huh.
It just wasn't working. So what we ended up doing was shifting the intro of the Outlaw into the very end of Dead with the Devil. So when
Okay.
Mike's doing, hey, do we have a deal, and starts the left, you listen
Right.
in the background, you hear that whammy note start, and that kind of whoosh sound leads into it.
Yep.
That was the original opening of Outlaw. It was just
Oh,
the
wow,
whammy.
okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Kind of mashed the two songs, and it great turnout. Turned out really
Yeah,
cool.
very much.
And to elaborate on that point too, we are a live first band. We write live. Like if we cannot, like we when we write all five of us together. There's never a point where like one of us kind of goes off on our own. I mean, it happened for As Above So Below for like a little bit, but we try to like if we can't do it live, then why are we doing it? Because
Yeah.
Makes
I
sense.
mean, like
Yeah.
having tracks and stuff is nice, and probably eventually at some point we'll incorporate them some more. But it's like especially with like Fiery Descent, like it's just like if you play it live, you have to play it live because otherwise, like you're not performing your songs.
Mhm.
And it also just works out better too because if you write to how you're gonna play it live, you just like you can just play that on the spot. You don't have to sit there and like record a demo and then like try this and then like have to go re-record a demo. You just play it together, at practice, and it's like if you could structure your song that way, you just play through the whole song, and then like it's done, and then you start adding those like studio trick things, on top of that, and that's where But we do try to write live oriented first,
I'm sure. It sounds like a formula for saving time too.
Well, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, because like if we write it live first, we can like if we're like, oh, we gotta like that transition is not really working, so we can just sit there, shotgun things out there, and then immediately test them. We don't have to like send it over to our studio guy, and he'll work it into the project file, and then he'll give us the WAV files later.
Right. Yeah.
And especially like because I'm in a second band, and we do a lot of writing on our own on the side, and it's nice, but also it's not as snappy because it's like I write something, I export it, and I show the guys, and then it's like they get feedback, and instead of getting feedback right on the spot, now it's like a day or two in between, and then I have to redo what I did, and then it's just so much better if you just write it live oriented first, especially for like thrash metal and stuff. It's like you're supposed to be able to play that stuff live. Like
Right.
the song's supposed to be complete live. Otherwise, like I'm sorry, I don't think you're really that great of a thrash band. No shit.
No, that does make total sense.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. But yeah, we were able to all sit in a booth and record our parts, and then it became a song. Yeah, you gonna play it on your next concert? Oh, no. No.
Yeah.
Dude. Yes, I mean. So yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Yeah, the only track aspects we pull in, because obviously Dead with the Devil intro has all the synth stuff. I run a little looper pedal next to me. It's just 9 programmable things. Push play, plays it, and then we go into the rest of the song. And that just adds that modern aspect to our shows. To a lot of bands that Eli's saying plays the tracks. Everything's lined up to a click, but we want that live aspect. So if we can pull in a kind of looper pedal that just adds this other atmosphere, why not?
Well, it also at the same time, it gives it the authenticity of what a concert goer may have already heard. It's like I listened to this album in my car on the way to the show, and then they get the direct translation of it too from their car to the stage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So speaking of the new album, is there hard copies that are available for people to buy, or is it just at shows?
Just at shows for right now.
Okay.
We don't have any kind of like CD distributor or anything, but that makes it a little more personal because every CD like that we make is handmade. Like I sit there and I burn the CDs. We make it a point to sign all the back covers too, because I mean like we're that small enough to where it's like I'll spend an hour destroying my wrist writing signature a million times. I don't care. Like it just adds a little bit, and it's also nice too because if you come live and then it's like somebody selling a CD and it's like a small band, it just like adds a little bit like, oh, we all signed it, because like we really appreciate that you're like buying our music, because a lot of people buy music nowadays, they just listen to it on streaming.
I really hope at some point you guys are able to put that out as a vinyl too, because I think that
we do
that artwork would be awesome on a vinyl.
We were planning on having it on vinyl at some point. Obviously, right now we can because it's
Man,
not
like
feasible.
Yeah.
But
everybody,
Once we demand.
yeah, everybody we talk to, man, it's like we have to put an order in like 6 months before the release, or we
Yes.
don't get it. It's like crazy, and I don't know if that's because like maybe COVID shut some places down, and there's only like a couple of them that are
I think it is actually. I think that's part
overwhelmed
of it.
now
it would
because
make sense.
I
yeah, it
think
would
that's
be.
part
That's the
of
only
it.
thing I can think of is why it's so crazy now because it used to not be that way. It used to, we talked to bands that have been around since 2010 on here and be like, oh yeah, it used to. We just, hey, I need this, and 30 days later they're in our, they got a
Yeah,
box
get
at the
get
door.
the vinyls. Yeah.
He said now I gotta wait 6 months. And like, geez, dude, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean the effects that you guys could do with a vinyl. Of course, the artwork is going to translate flawlessly
yeah.
to a vinyl
Oh, yeah.
album cover. But I mean, just what you guys could do with the actual album itself, with the color scheme that you guys have, you guys could do some major stuff with that.
Oh yeah. No,
We've
we
talked
had
about
plans
some
to.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just
I mean,
executing.
we're all
seeing
big
it.
vinyl heads
Yeah.
inside. I mean, I own a shitload on my dresser right now. So
I got a
Yeah,
few.
I
I
have
don't
the
have a
best
whole
collection on all heads.
150. So
150.
like that.
Yeah.
I still have 450 cassette tapes somewhere. So
There you go.
yeah, and then plus all the CDs. I actually was talking to my wife. I got CDs everywhere. Like there's a bag in here. There's a bag in the dining room. There's like stuff where I just pick up CDs where especially when I go to like different places because different record shops have different stuff. So
Of
it's
course,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I always try to look up a record shop if I'm in town somewhere. It's like, oh, I'm gonna look at this record shop and see what they got. So. Usually wind up leaving with a handful of stuff that I don't have or
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because hell, you actually have to buy it when and where you can find it at this
Well,
point.
yeah, because I mean,
Yeah. No, straight up, you can't really
Yeah,
buy it anywhere
you
else.
absolutely do. But
you can't really buy a lot of older stuff on you may find some stuff on Amazon every once in a while, but
yeah,
it's very rare.
It's few and far
Yeah.
between.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, but yeah, I was like definitely got to hit you guys up to try to get one sent my way because I'd love to have that disc. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
like I'm a
just give
physical
us-
I'm a physical guy, so I like to have a
Mhm.
physical copy of
We'll
stuff
send
too.
CDs and merch. We got
yeah,
you.
yeah, man. We'll actually trade out because we got T-shirts and stuff too. And
Yeah.
actually, when we get ready to do the 2025 T-shirts, you guys will be on that shirt. So
Hey.
Yep. Yeah, you will.
We always do like a I was trying to come up with a creative way to do the shirts and have everybody included on it. And I said, well, why don't we just do like a world tour shirt? Because I know we didn't go there, but that's where they were from.
They
that we
yeah
talked
they
to
came
them.
to they came to us.
So, I mean,
Genius, actually. I
technically,
like
they
that.
came to us, so
Yeah.
that's kind of what we went with, and we're three years in with that, so
Yep.
we're waiting on a new design. I got my actually designer out trying to come up with some stuff for our new one, for 2024 now. So
Yeah.
so it's so yeah, we'll definitely be able to do some stuff like that. So
Hell
So
yeah.
now you guys, the only other show that you guys have listed, you guys are going to be as of right now anyway. You guys are going to be in Saginaw in August.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so now is there anyone else going to be on that bill?
I think
I think it's
lineup
TLDR
is-
right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I said, a lot of our shows right now are kind of up in the works. The
Oh,
only
man.
one that's set in stone is the Corktown one.
Okay,
Yeah.
at the festival. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm not 100% sure. It's hard for me to tell when I'm going to be able to get back up home. But the next time I'm up that way, I'm definitely gonna. I before I come up, I'll definitely check your guys' website to make sure, because
Yes.
I would absolutely love to come see. Because I mean, like I said, when I go up there, I'm either staying in Ann Arbor or I'm staying in Bay City. So I mean, if I'm up that way and I'm staying up in Bay City, I mean, hell, Saginaw is literally right next door.
Right around the corner.
So if I'm up that way and you guys are up in Saginaw, I'll definitely come down. Or I mean, even if, of course, I don't think April. I think April is too. I don't think I'll be able to make it up in April. I would probably come to that festival if I was up that way. But
There's a lot of good bands on it.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to make it up in April. But August, summer is usually more my speed. But so I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes open. That way the next time I'm up that way, I'll know for sure if you guys are gonna be anywhere, and I'll swing by for sure. So
and we're,
That
and we're
one's for the
following.
viewers at home. Check our website. We update it. All of our shows all the time. So if
Yeah.
you're ever wondering, hey, where's Stop playing? Go to our website, shadowthetalisman.com.
It's actually it's a very nice website.
It is, yeah.
It is
you.
a very
I,
nice website.
I spent a lot of time designing it. So,
It
thanks.
it turned out great. It is actually very well done.
That is one thing I've slacked on. I've actually bought the domain and everything for ours, and I just have not put it together yet. I need to definitely do that at some point, but
Yeah.
it's,
Oh,
yeah.
and I can actually see the album cover blown up, and I can actually see the time on the clock towers now.
Yeah.
There you go. Secret South.
Like I said, I
Yep.
spent a lot of
Secret
time
Santa.
designing that website.
Yeah. Yep, I can actually see it now. So there you go.
It is time consuming. Like I started it and then like didn't like what it looked like, so I was like, oh, I got to go back and race all this. So I go back and race it all. Then I'm like, going. I said, man, I just spent 2.5, 3 hours on this thing and didn't like it. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm done. And then I haven't been able to get back to it because I've been doing merch. And, I got my heat press and everything back here where I do my own merch. So it's kind of like time consuming to work.
Just not,
I know.
yeah, just
And
not
try to
enough
do
hours
all that,
in the
man.
day.
It's like it's
Yeah.
not. At some point, I'm gonna hit the lottery and I'll just be able to just do that all the time. But
Right. Yeah. No, I know how time consuming it is. Trust me. Working with the other 4 guys on it was it's quite the experience.
yeah. So and
That was all you, Eli. We had no involvement in the website.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that.
and what's crazy is like me and Chris kind of split the social media stuff, so we're both not overwhelmed with trying to do all
Yeah.
that too. So
Oh my god, it's so tough.
Yeah, he does the Instagrams and X and all that, and then I do we both have access to the Facebook page and group that we have.
Yeah.
So and then I think we're following you guys on all that too. So if we see something, we'll definitely share on our stuff too. So
Yep.
Yeah, social
Absolutely.
media is a
Oh, absolutely.
battleground for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
and then and I say you guys want to if you're looking out to try to get on bills or whatever, you can if you don't want to get hit up with a bunch of notifications, you want to like the page. Of course, that we don't do as much on there as if that's all kind of private or public, but it's mostly band related there. Our private group's kind of just like friends and stuff that are in the group, and everybody posts stuff. You're probably looking at you probably get 18 notifications a day sometimes on that group, depending on who's active. I mean, there's 600 people, 650 people,
Right.
But yeah, so the page is the way to go, and then our friend Dana Horn runs a Metal and Tats page on Facebook as well,
Yeah.
and he has lots of bands in there that do the same thing. They network and try to get on tours together.
Yeah.
Actually, he's put tours together with some of the bands. So
Yeah, he's taken bands down into Florida, and I think he's trying to work on getting across to Texas with some bands. So yeah, he puts together some of that stuff. And since we're talking about it, it's too late for this year, but something for you guys to keep in mind for next year. There's
Metal Devastation
over in Jackson, Tennessee, which is approximately 3 hours west of where we are here in Tennessee. We're about 45 minutes south of Nashville, but about 3 hours west of here, there's a festival in Jackson called the Tennessee Metal Devastation Festival. And like I say, they've already closed the application process for this year because they're already starting to announce bands. But something you may guys want to keep in your back pocket, and I'll try to remind you guys at the end of the year after they have the festival, they'll start taking submissions for 2026.
Late January, I think.
Maybe.
I think that's when they do it. Late January.
But what I'll try to do is I'll try to remind you guys, and I'll either remind you or I'll send you a link to their Facebook page because they take submissions on their Facebook page and all that. They bring bands from all over.
Yeah.
They bring bands in from all over. So that might be something guys may be interested for next year.
100%.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys in mind for when they start taking submissions again, because they bring bands in from, I know right off the top of my head, from the Northeast. They've had a headliner at least twice that I know of come down from Wisconsin. There's been bands come up from Texas. So I mean, they're not scared of bringing bands in from out of state,
Right.
out of the region and everything. So and they do like to bring in bands that are on their first album or or whatever. They're that are early on in their career. So towards the end of the year when they take or either at the end of this year or the beginning of 26, I'll definitely pass that information along so you guys can get a submission in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And if you guys ever take a notion you want to get to Nashville, let us know. We'll shoot you most of the venues around here, and you can.
They're
lived in Nashville for a few years, so he's
Okay.
dying to get down there one day.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yep.
somewhere in Tennessee. I think it was Nashville, right, Eli?
I thought it was Texas.
It definitely wasn't Texas. I know it's
I
Tennessee.
don't know. For some reason, I thought I remembered it as Texas, but
Well, the funny thing is there is a Nashville in Texas, but it's not very big. So there is
it's not as big.
there is a Nashville.
well,
in
you never
Texas.
know. It could have been Nashville, Texas.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that's not bigger in Texas is Nashville. So
That's 100%. Yeah, that's 100% true.
Right.
But there actually are a lot of great venues to play in Nashville,
There is,
and
yeah.
there's a lot of venues that will book metal bands. We've been to many shows there. They actually just opened one earlier this month. Jason went to see Killswitch Engage there. We're going again in May to see Trivium and Billet for My Valentine.
Ooh.
So I mean, there's plenty of venues here,
Mhm.
and plenty of venues for you don't. Venues where you don't have to be, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, or Metallica to play them. So I mean,
Yeah, there's the Exit Inn that holds like 200 to 300, and
mhm.
Brooklyn Bowl holds. I think Brooklyn Bowl holds about 1,500. I think, and then there's the East
Yeah.
Side Bowl holds about. I don't remember how many. It don't hold as many. Like 500 maybe.
Maybe 500.
Yeah,
Then you
so,
got
there's venues. There's smaller venues that are the Cobra. I think it holds like 150 or so.
that's
maybe.
a small venue. That's a small venue. But
So I mean, there's a lot of small venues too that you
yeah.
could probably get in on. So I mean,
a lot of cool places to play though. There really are.
yeah, and then the chances of us dragging 20 or 30 people with us is probably pretty
Probably pretty good. Yeah.
pretty prominent. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that follow us on the thing, and they oh man, I didn't know that was coming. I'm going. So
Yeah.
we got people calling us up last minute too, and hey, you going to this show? Like, yeah, we're going to that show. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, man. Anything else you guys want to push out there for anything to promote the band a little bit before we take off?
Any other platforms or
Yeah,
anything
Instagram,
like
Twitch, whatever.
Outside of the follow us on Instagram, Shadow of the Talisman, Facebook. You can follow our page. We're on YouTube. We got music videos out.
Yeah.
We're on TikTok. We don't post much on TikTok because I'm not super savvy with it. So
yeah, TikTok. I have a love-hate relationship with TikTok. I like having it. I cannot figure out their algorithm for nothing.
it's tough.
God.
Yeah.
He does the Metalheads Unite one. I have a personal one that I do comedy on, and he gets mad sometimes. How the fuck you get 800 already? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I know the pain. Trust me.
Yeah. So
it's the same with my personals. My personals do way better than the bands, and it's like I can't figure it out. Like I need to.
I don't know if it's like a time of day posting.
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like it's like everything put together. It just like
I just can't.
Not the right tags. I mean, I don't know, dude.
I can't nail down their algorithm. I just can't.
Me either, man. It's a mystery.
Frustrating as hell, but
yeah.
Yeah,
we're
not as web tech savvy as we thought. So
no. Well, I never really claimed to be tech savvy to the beginning.
You're like, I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wrote code.
I do my
I still
best.
can't figure it out. So.
Yeah, I do my best.
So, hey, man, we appreciate you guys calling Eli for taking your time out and joining us, man. I know you guys have been making the rounds, and that's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen a band come out with the debut album that's been kind of like called into so many interviews like you guys have. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
man.
no, that's great that you guys.
Most of the time, we talk to guys, that's my first time. Oh, we ain't doing nothing when you want to do it. He's like, oh no, man, we got interviews lined up. Like, damn, okay, yeah, y'all go with y'all's bad self. So
yeah.
So that's
but
awesome,
no, it's a great sign that you guys are getting to do all this, and the album is getting such great feedback and all that good stuff because it really turned out well. I know you guys are happy with it, and you should be, and you should be proud of it.
Yes,
absolutely,
absolutely.
Yeah,
we're just very happy that's finally out and all the feedback we've been for the longest time. It's just been family and friends, and now you guys reaching out to this interview. Again, thank you for that. And the other
Yes,
ones
thank
for
you
doing
so
all
much.
these different magazines. It's awesome just seeing all this come back to us. It's like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
actually doing something right. So
Hopefully.
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely so far, so good. I mean, you guys, like Eli, you talked about in the beginning of the show. Who does a concept album right out of the gate? Well, you guys, whether or not this kind of becomes the sound you guys carry on with, or you go in a little bit of a different direction for album 2, whatever you guys decide to do, you have one hell of a solid foundation to build from.
I don't personally think there's anything you guys can't play. I mean, honestly, just from what I hear,
I don't think so.
I mean, I think you guys can pretty much, I think the sky's the limit for what you guys want to do in the future, man. So.
There's
Wait till you hear the jazz track, Eli.
I was gonna say we haven't written anything with Sugar-esque yet. I mean,
there you go.
There,
yeah. I mean, you always pick that up. Thomas Hake's already complaining about trying to play Bleed in his 60s, So I mean.
Well, there's definitely nothing that Mike can't sing. It doesn't seem like.
It doesn't seem like it seems like he transitions very well from one vocal style to the next. So
we all
definitely landed a winner, man.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, Kyle, that's a good point. You don't know what your limits are until you try to push them. So
you're right. Yeah.
So there you go.
Guys pushed me for drum parts. We pushed guitars for solos. We pushed Eli for bass parts.
There you go.
Push and pull all over, especially with the new stuff we're working on. It's right. Can we pull this off? We're like, let's try. So
bring the best out of.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Bring the best out of each other. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you never know till you try. So that's it's like screw it. We haven't done it before. Let's try it. And I was like, oh, okay, shit, that didn't work. But then,
real quick.
Talk
about that.
Yeah, but then it's like that old G.I. Joe saying, "Now you know, and knowing is half the battle." So I mean, you never know till you try. So
yeah, hopefully, man, you guys got like a timeline y'all are trying to shoot for the next release, or y'all just kind of play it by ear? Or?
Few years. we're kind of playing it by ear. We're waiting to see where the writing process takes us before we sit there and say album 2 needs to be done by 2026.
Well, I mean, most people are 2 year albums, but
that's
between
fair.
each album. I mean, that's kind of the average. I mean, everybody's.
I'd say that's like the rough idea that we have right now is 2 years.
Everybody's not going to be trivial and try to do 2 back to back like they did a few years back. And now they want to take 6 years off since they did.
Yeah,
that.
right. Yeah.
It's like, man, that was a mistake. Let's take some time off.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. But
yeah,
so cool, man. I can't wait to hear someone. Like, hopefully we get to do this again too, because I actually wanted to see some of the basses back there that I didn't get to ask about. So
those aren't even the best ones. I got all mine are like packed up right now, so I don't have to.
So we'll have to break. We'll have to.
We'll do a show and tell next time.
Yeah, do a show and tell.
I'll do a rig rundown. I've been waiting for somebody to ask about it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, reach out. I think hopefully next time we do this, get the other guys involved.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, love to have, we love that.
Man, it'd be great to get to talk to everybody. But yeah,
they're full of character.
Yeah,
awesome.
We love that. Yeah,
it
makes the more the merrier. And of course, that makes less work on us when we got so many people giving different perspectives.
Very true.
Yep.
But hey, man, we got 2 hours and 15 minutes out of it, so we did good.
It was a great show. No, it was a good time. It was a good time, and we appreciate you guys coming on, and especially on a Friday night. So I mean, I don't know if you guys are Friday night guys, but I mean, I'm
a bassist. I don't have anything going on.
Yeah, you already know that, dude. Bassists get no love. So.
Nope, we don't.
They were picked last for the band. That's what that was.
Not in this band.
Not this time.
Not in this band.
Yeah. That's always the joke. Kind of like being last for the football team. They
That's
were last
right.
for the band. Or what was the thing we always talk about with the chick said that she sued the bassist because he wasn't a real member of the band. She slept with him.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what? I read that article. I'm like, what?
That was actually a real lawsuit too.
It was a real story.
That was
Yes.
that was
And I
a real-
What is she suing over? What?
because she didn't think he was a real member of the band. Bassists aren't
Like-
real members.
like-
I'm
What law does that
What is
break,
real?
though? What?
like fraud or something. I don't know.
was
But, I
like,
mean-
what?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
read-
that was
I
a
read that.
real
It was a
lawsuit.
real story, and I read it. And I'm just like, what the hell?
That's
Like,
insane.
yeah, but, man, she got some mental issues. Some of y'all do dodge the bullet. obviously.
Something.
Yeah.
I mean, she's sleeping with bassists. That's already something's wrong there.
Oh man. But they don't know. She thinks they can keep up with the beat better. I don't know. So,
Hey, maybe.
yeah, drummers and
actually-
bassists. There you go.
Actually, a good point.
Yeah,
Hey man, I don't want to keep y'all no longer than you already been here. So man, we appreciate you guys taking the time out on here, man. I will edit this on Spotify and send that over to you guys to share as well when I get done with that. So
absolutely.
yeah, so that's another little outlet. Anybody else can watch the same links I sent you. They can rewatch it if they need to on there. So
Mhm.
Good
Yep.
deal.
yeah,
Awesome.
Perfect.
yeah, man.
Again,
Like I said,
thank
we
you guys. This was
Yeah,
an
man.
incredible
Yes,
interview.
thank you.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
We appreciate the first time stories there too. So
Yeah. all the
the
fun
reveals.
facts. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, there's plenty more too. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, y'all take care, man. Y'all have a good night.
You guys too.
Yep. Eli, Kyle, you guys take care. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds
Absolutely.
good.
Have a great
Good
night,
night.
guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, there.
Shadow of the Talisman, everybody. Well, 40% of Shadow of the Talisman.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
33 and a third or something.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
Something like
man, check out their new album, As Above, So Below. I mean, I know sometimes we kind of like little hyperbole. We're like, oh, there's a little bit of something for everyone. This one
I think there really is.
This
Yeah,
one really does have a little bit of something for everyone. It genuinely does. Because I mean, like we talked, I mean, the way Mike sings, the way the songs are constructed, there's even, like I say, there's a little taste of a little bit of twang on tracks 5 and 6.
yeah.
It's not overbearing or anything, but just a little flavor, added in. But I mean, bass lines, drum
And I
lines,
think
dual
there's the-
guitars. So, I mean,
And they compared, to Metallica, Vince Sevenfold, bands like that. And I think those are some good comparisons. I mean, if you're any fans of those bands, I think you would find something on here that you like. So
absolutely, yeah. So, and it's for this to be what, like I say, for this to be what they've come out with to start their career.
I know, dude.
They came out swinging. I mean,
Yeah.
they really did.
Kind of another Eradicated story, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, and you referenced Devil during the show, same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of quality heavy metal being made by a lot of young bands. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I do too, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, we always worry about where the future's going. Well, I think we're getting our answers, slowly but surely.
I think so.
We've talked about it for a few years, but now we're kind of like, I mean, there's some, and I don't know if you've heard any of the new Malevolence that's come out, but dude, they've definitely stepped it up.
I haven't yet.
Yeah, they've definitely stepped stuff up, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I guess I could share that real quick.
Yeah. But another, and I don't know if you noticed this morning, because I know you and I are on different schedules, but when I got up this morning, when I left for work, I was going to listen to the new Hidden Intent. I don't
Wasn't
know.
there.
Okay, you did notice that?
Mhm.
Okay, because I thought I was.
Yeah.
It's there now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's there now. I looked
No,
earlier.
maybe they did it in some kind of time, their time or something. I don't
That
know.
is true. I know they're quite a ways ahead of us. But yeah, when I looked this morning, it wasn't there.
Yeah, maybe it was because of the time difference from
Maybe.
Australia to the U.S. is why it wasn't
Yeah.
out when we
That could
thought
be.
it would be.
But yeah, so it is up now.
Oh, good. I'll listen to that tomorrow then.
No, I'm absolutely going to listen to that. And then
I got a 10-hour drive. I'll be listening to a lot of shit. So.
yeah, and then here after the show, once we go off the air, you and I we can talk about our album reviews for this
Okay.
week.
Yeah.
But because I haven't really decided yet. But we'll talk about that here in just a minute.
And speaking of which, there is the link to the new music from this week. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely some big heavy hitters out this week.
Some good stuff.
Yeah, Cradle of Filth, before mentioned Hidden Intent. We got Lordy, Pop Evil. Malevolence had a new single out. Caliban, Dead. The Haunted is kind of making a comeback, which is cool to see.
Plenty of solid stuff.
Oh, and our good friends, One of the Last, had a new single out.
That's right.
Week, so, yep.
Yes, they did.
And a new single out, and so yeah. Oh, and a new Motor Jesus, by the way. I didn't know if you've seen that or not.
No.
Yeah. So that's on.
No,
that's
I don't
on,
think I did, but that's good.
Yeah, that's on the list too. Yep. So yeah, some good stuff. Yeah, good stuff, man. And I know you were talking about some stuff next week, so I mean we won't go over that, but because I know it's, but Arch Enemy for one. I mean we can talk about the heavy hitters, I guess. What's the other heavy hitters next week?
Well, let's see, what do we got real quick? Yeah, so Alien Weaponry, their album comes out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Alien Weaponry, Arch Enemy. Who else do we have? Not really a fan, but The Darkness has something coming out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Coming out. Let's see, what else do we
You don't believe in a thing called love?
I don't like that song. Let's see. Jive Bomb's got something coming out. Memphis Mayfire's got something coming out.
Okay, Memphis Mayfire. Yeah.
Nothing more. Well, that's a deluxe edition, so never mind. Let's see what else we got. Sick Puppies.
Oh, really?
Yep. Under Oath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I mean.
So the heavy hitters are starting to come out.
Another half a dozen or so albums from some more established acts are releasing some music.
And then, of course, you got all the new stuff.
Right. From today, the stuff that came out from today through about like the end of April. I mean, the next 6 weeks is just good.
It'll be amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
especially in April. The end of April is gonna be.
Yeah.
Was it Machine Head and?
Yep.
Who was the other one in of April we were talking about? It was that band that they sent us the link on that we liked.
For fuck's sake.
Man, they sent us the album early, and I was like, it come out the same. You said, oh yeah, it comes out the same day as Machine Head.
Hang on. Shit. Hang on.
Okay. Actually, I have it downloaded.
Oh, Game Over.
Yeah, that's
Game Over. Yep. Yeah, it comes out the same day as the Machine Head does.
And that's a great album too, man. Oh, dude, it's so good.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, and this is a little bit of and Jason and you and I kind of touched on this on Facebook before the show, so we won't like get into it too hard. But and actually, I'm actually gonna have to change one of my current events for the next Metalhead Minute because the funny thing is like Deicide had dropped off of the Exodus tour because of like some scheduling conflicts, and then Possessed took their place.
Right, and now they dropped off.
Well, earlier today it was announced that Possessed is dropping off the tour because they have some sort of medical issue, and Havoc is actually going to take that spot.
God, that just made that damn tour just 10 times better right there.
So I want to say,
anyways.
Right, that's what I'm going to say. I want to say this: no disrespect to Deicide or Possessed, none intended whatsoever. But as far as this particular tour, you have Exodus and Misfire, two thrash bands already.
With one of the thrash gods. Yeah.
Now you're adding Havoc to this tour. You have 3 thrash bands going around. Like I say, no disrespect to Deicide or Possessed, but in my opinion, they were a skosh out of place on this.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like I say, just a little. But
I think it's because they try to drag different crowds into these shows.
And I totally understand that. But Deicide, as far as death metal goes, I mean, they're icons.
Oh yeah, icons.
Deicide is
sure,
iconic. Yeah. And we all know what Possessed has got going on. With what they've got going on with their history.
They got a bunch of dolls. That's what they got going on.
Right. So hopefully the issues that Possessed has going on, hopefully that's nothing too serious.
Right, yeah.
Hopefully they can get all that taken care of. But from a thrash metal fan's perspective, adding Havoc to Exodus and Misfire, I mean, my God. The only thing that sucks is the one show that I would go to is the same night that the Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine.
I know, right? Yeah.
because I was like, oh, come on.
Is there any way we can get them on this bill? Just put them in the same show together.
God,
Uh,
shut up and take my money. Yeah.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, they probably had to start that show at like 3 o'clock in the evening to get all those bands on, but because they do have a curfew at that venue. So by the way,
Or they do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
11 o'clock. Yeah, 11 o'clock, and everybody's got to be done. So
Yeah. Yeah, they do. So, but so that's going to be. So I mean, if you guys get if you guys are thrash fans and you get a chance to go see that recently that twice updated Exodus tour, I highly recommend it because I mean, if you've never seen Havoc before, you are in for a goddamn treat. So.
Oh yeah. And actually, we got to see him. We got to meet the guy. Well, two of them.
Yeah, we got to meet Phil and David. So nice guys.
Yeah, they are.
Nice guys.
Kudos. All right, guys. I guess that will wrap this one up for this week. Hope you enjoyed that. We do have possibly one of our biggest interviews yet in the works. We're trying to nail down next week. We haven't got confirmation for the availability of the band yet. But Curtis, my guy, is working hard on this, and we so appreciate it.
Oh man,
and that's one of the things we talked about was we got to talk to Curtis. We got to get him on the show, and kind of get a feel of what goes on behind that aspect of a metal label.
Just a different and a perspective we haven't pursued yet on the show. So
exactly,
we may have to, and especially with what he's done for us so far. And the bands that he's, the music he's provided to us, the interviews that he's already hooked up for us. This one that is potentially cooking up right now, I'm excited as hell, but I don't want to give anything away. I'm excited as hell, but
same.
So
it's going to be for us. It's going to be a once in a lifetime probably opportunity to get this nailed down. With them being on this label may be the only thing that help us nail this down. I don't think we would I don't think we would be able to do this any other way. So
probably not.
I said thanks to Curtis for trying to get this hooked up. And
yes,
like I said, if not this week, we're going to get a date down at some point. We're going to and I told him, he said well, preferably these times. I said, hey, I will bend over backwards to get this done.
Right.
I don't care. I'll run not that I want to, but I'll run a Saturday show at 12 o'clock. I don't care.
Right.
Just because of
who this is,
of who it is. Yeah.
The significance of who this is as it relates to this show.
Our show. Yeah, exactly.
All I'm going to say.
Exactly.
All I'm going to say. But yeah, this one, if we can nail this one down, this would be. And I feel bad saying that because I've loved talking to every band we've talked to.
Exactly.
But just because of this show and this band just being able to massive for us.
And the influence is the main reason. So hopefully everything works out. I mean, we'll see.
Yep.
Let's just stay on our socials, down there on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, Twitch. I think that's all of them. That's all. And just stay, mainly on our Facebook page, and Instagram. That's where a lot of the stories and stuff run to. So if you see that, going on and on Monday, then you'll know, hey, they're having an interview on Saturday. So if not, we'll probably be back here Friday with our normal.
Yeah, that is basically the only hint we want to give right now is if we nail this interview down, it will be on a Saturday most likely because it is another overseas. Yep. That's all you're getting. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, you have to follow us on our socials if you want more. I'm just sorry. Right. I mean, that's just how it has to work. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and so don't forget about our 24/7 stream radio station. It is streaming right now. That is at stream.trulyradio247.com/8008/stream. And then also, I didn't mention the email, Chris, so if you want to.
Yep. MetalheadsUniteUSA@gmail.com is our email address. Drop us a line. Drop us requests for the radio station.
Yeah.
Like we told Eli and Kyle, there is not a genre of music we won't play. No matter what you like, who you listen to, you want it on the radio station, we'll put it on there. Follow us on Facebook.
So
Follow us on the Facebook group page,
let's
X,
see.
Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, TikTok, and Spotify.
I'll tell you right now. 60,
And check out Shadow of the Talisman and As Above, So Below.
So
Check
187 songs went on there this week.
oh, yeah.
So I was busy uploading. I actually got caught up this week to our current playlist this week. So
Oh, cool. All right. Well, that's good.
So yeah.
That's good.
So we are as current as we can be right now. So
Cool beans.
I know there's
Like-
still some old stuff we haven't went back and did, but I mean at this point. We'll filter through that at some point because I'm pretty sure some of that's probably already on some of the stuff we're doing now because
Right, yeah.
it's been like individual playlists and then we made it a team effort. So
That's true.
so some of that may already be on there already. So
Yeah.
I was surprised by some of it not being on there from one of the last two that we did. There were some songs I'm like, really, we didn't get that on because I mean people hasn't followed. We did lose a lot of stuff. I don't know, probably middle of last year, I guess it was.
Yeah, I think so.
The hub caught on fire and we lost all of our files, so we had to redo everything. And actually we had a whole new link and everything because we were 8,006, now we're 8,008. So
Yeah, basically had to completely rebuild.
yeah,
the
we
data.
had to do everything. So
Yeah.
it's pretty rough. So
Yeah.
But hey, we're still here. We're still doing our thing, still going strong. So that's the main thing, right?
That is the main thing.
All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview. Like I said, this will be back. This will be up at all of our socials when this broadcast ends. You can go back and rewatch, or we'll try by the beginning of the week have it on Spotify. Since I'm going to be on vacation, and I'll probably be bullshitting and doing some stuff. So I'll probably just go ahead and do that, knock that out. So put that up. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, and hopefully we will see you back here next Friday or Saturday, depending on kind of keep up with our socials to get the confirmation on that. If you don't hear anything by Tuesday, I would say probably a Friday show, more or less. But I never knock it out because I mean, hell, they could come up Wednesday and say, hey, let's do it Saturday. And,
That's true.
I don't like that because I don't have a lot of time to promote it, but I like to have that. I like to have at least a full 5-day promotion.
Yeah. But we'll do an about face if we have to.
I mean, yeah, if we have to. Like I said, we're going to bend over backwards for this one. So
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully you guys will keep up with us over there, and we'll let you know what's going on. So
That's right.
until then, keep those horns held high. Jump in that pit anytime you can.
Have a great week, you guys. Thank you.